first time here, you're in for a treat. Because tonight, we're going to learn the truth about world orthodoxy. And if you don't know what that means, W's in the chat for world, because we're about to figure out what it means tonight as we have Father Joseph Sweden, who is going to walk us through from top to bottom. We got questions. We want to be educated. What is this world orthodoxy? And if you're watching right now, understand that this is the Cartel of Truth, and I am your host, the Mauler, the unapologetic apologist, the unequivocating evangelist, the poignant pundit, the uncancelable conservative. And why can't I be canceled? Well, in the end, if you try to cancel me, you're just canceling a dumb Mexican, Holmes. I heard all these white boys out here talking smack, huh? We're going to see if these preppy white boys can deal with this as we later have a conversation. It seems like, apparently, I'm as dumb as they come. Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right, chat. So go ahead and click the like and share this, because we're going to get educated today. We're going to jump right in. We're going to do a couple things up front. We're going to define this term, orthobro, because apparently these orthobros pull up and they're like, oh, what does that even mean? Oh, what does orthobro mean? Oh. And then you have the other guy, what does that even mean? What is an orthobro? So are we going to have to do this? Apparently we are. So we're going to allow the Eastern Orthodox Church to go ahead and define orthobro for us. And I think this is the realest take I've ever heard. So we're going to examine that before we jump into world orthodoxy. So without, belaboring the point of this orthobro sort of behavior on the internet, I just want to tell you, if you're looking for answers as to what is happening amongst this behavior and all the smoke screens on X, you have to hone in on the doctrine. You have to DOE, doctrine over everything. And today we're going to hear the current stance of the world church, or the world Orthodox Church, and figure out what the sort of differences are. And I hope this is educational for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pull up, and I'll say this from my side. Maybe Father Joseph doesn't agree, but hey, I don't care. My brother from another mother with the same Heavenly Father, there he is. Father Joseph, welcome, sir.
Well, thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
Okay, great. Obviously all people are children of God. So I'm not going to deny that. And on top of that, you said you're Mexican, and I'm confused for Mexican all the time. So
you know what? I'm not going to lie. You look like one of my uncles. Keep it a whole bean. You look like one of my uncles, literally from Mexico. I'm not going to lie. And that's why they asked me that, and I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know if he's Hispanic, but no, obviously. No,
I'm Hispanic.
You are?
Hispanic.
So then
yeah.
Are you, what? So what's your back? So then.
My mother's Peruvian and my father's Argentino.
Okay, I was going to say Argentino. Okay. Because how would you say it in Spanish then? Your last name then?
Suedan.
Suedan, right? Okay, so yeah. I didn't know if I needed to ask you that or what's going on.
No,
okay.
It's okay. People pronounce it wrong in English. They look at
it.
But
you literally look like my uncle. Actually, my uncle passed. He was younger, so he passed.
Someone said he's Puerto Rican in the chat. Actually, my matishka is Puerto Rican. I am not.
So yeah, and then I meant to ask you something in the chat, but I literally was, before I pulled up here, I was getting like water and everything. I was almost fumbling because I was going to type something out. But here's what I wanted to do. If you're okay with it, I wanted to kick off for the chat and for everybody. We want to learn what the term orthobro means. And then I would like for you to give me yours. So I have a video to share here that it looks like it's from, I don't know what church, meaning he's Eastern Orthodox, but I don't know which church he's from. You might know by seeing him. He looks popular. Let me get this lined up really quick, and then that way we can jump into this, because I thought that this was a pretty darn good explanation as to what's happening. So all of the claims that the father is making in this video, I think, are right on, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. But here is, make sure I got this set right. It looks like this is Father Jonathan. Are you familiar? Have you seen this?
We haven't spoken or anything like that. I know who he is, Father Jonathan Ivanov. He's a priest in the OCA, if I remember correctly.
Okay, great. So then you're going to be able to maybe put a little bit of context of what's happening here. But I want us to watch as he beautifully lays out what's happened in the last 10 years in Eastern Orthodoxy and the Ortho Bro slash Jay Dyer, the phenomena online. So let's listen to him. And real quick, chat, we need to do a mic check because I had to reset my whole system. So I'm about to play it. So if you hear echo or what, just tell me what you're listening to. Tell me if it's coming through clear.
A lot of people who will hate me from what I'm about to say, but I think it's true. I think Jay Dyer has brought more people into Orthodoxy than anybody else here in America in the last 10 years. Now,
it's echoing. All right, hold on. It's echoing. Is that what you guys are saying? It's echoing, right?
Yeah, they're saying it's echoing.
Right,
I don't hear the echo because
yeah, because we're inside here. All right, how about now?
Having said that,
now I hear
and I think it's true. And
now you hear doubling?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on.
Because Jay's been doing this going back to 2017.
Hold on.
So he's been doing it for about 9 years. And in 2019, I started to notice people mentioning him.
Okay, that's better for them. But sorry, Father, if you have to mute your side, this is the whole thing that I had to reset my unit. All right, so Father Jonathan right here, we're only going to play this video and we're going to let you get to it. I'm assuming you might have some slides for us too, right, Joseph? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. Sorry, brother. You're muted.
I don't have some slides on me.
Okay, but we can walk through it because I have some links as well. But really, this is the only video we're going to play. So just bear with me as we get through it with the sound, and then we can comment on it. So pay attention. He's giving He's giving Jay Dyer credit for 90 or I said 80-90% of all the converts, and I think that's fair. And he's doing the same thing. But watch what he says for the definition for all those ortho bros that are confused.
Post-COVID, of course, that picked up quite a bit. But I think he's to be credited, quite frankly, for bringing people into Orthodoxy. Now, having said that, there will be those who then say, but those he brings in, they're wild, they're unmanageable, they have all these ideas and they're crazy, this, that, and the other thing. That's not Jay's fault. That's the fault of the priest and the parish who is not forming these men who are coming in. I have had men like that come to my parish. I have had to deal with it, and it's not a problem. You just have to sit them down and say, okay, whatever you've heard online, now you're going to hear from me as your priest. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to believe. This is how you have to act, and so forth. And if they don't like that, they're going to leave. But to allow someone to come into your church unformed or formed only by the internet, only by online apologetics, and I don't mean just Jay, because there's a lot of other people online who are at this. I think that to just welcome the people who are coming in and go, oh, this is great, we got all these guys coming in, and do nothing to form them, that's the fault of the priest. And he can't complain about anybody else if he is not doing what he is supposed to do to take these men and correct what the internet may have corrupted in them. Now, I know that's not a lot of priests out there might be, now throwing things at their screen at me and things like that. I don't care. This is our fault if we are not forming these men the way they need to be formed. I used to teach guys that were people. I used to teach people coming in. I would start with the creed, but I realized a couple of years ago, I got to start with prayer. I got to start with fasting and almsgiving and the virtues and doing good works and things like that. And if they then start doing all of that, then I'll let them become a catechumen. But they have to start all of this first before I'm going to admit them as a catechumen. They've got to have a right, I love this word, phronima. They've got to have the right mindset if they're going to become an Orthodox Christian. They just can't come in as a quote unquote ortho bro, whatever the hell that means, by the way. I mean, I know what it means, but people kind of throw that term around at anybody they don't like coming into the Orthodox Church. I've kind of noticed that too. Okay, having said that, let's talk about what is meant by ortho bro. Now, if I were to ask people in the comment section right now or something like that, what do you mean by ortho bro? I think there'd be a lot of different definitions, but there would be some sort of coalescing around the idea of an arrogant young man who thinks he knows it all and probably has never been to an Orthodox church. So it's all up here and none of it is right here. And I think that's the problem that we're facing. Now, having said that, I don't quite frankly think there's a lot of ortho bros out there. And if they're only on the internet, who cares? I don't care about the people who are on the internet. I care about the people who are coming through the front doors of our parishes. And specifically, I care about the people who are coming through the front doors of my church. Now, having said that, if I ask people, and I've asked people repeatedly on the internet, on Facebook and elsewhere, who are you talking about that is an ortho bro? I can't get them to pin down anybody by name. So the ortho bro is this sort of amorphous blob of humanity out there that has no name, that has no face, but is just thrown around as a term, and a pejorative term at that, at people that they don't like, who are saying things they don't like or acting ways they don't like and things like that.
All right, we're back. Okay, so you see a little bit of the frustration going on. The father here seems to identify what an ortho bro is at one side of it. Then at the same time, he seems to go, I don't really know what it is. So we have a definition that's pinned down, which I thought was in general pretty good. It's the puffed up younger guys that are pulling up to Orthodoxy, and they're really psyched. I called them sort of the red pill movement that kind of died. And then you had a bunch of souped up guys that are looking for a religion kind of to plug in. And I'm not saying just superficially, I'm saying some of them are. And that attitude kind of carried over. That's what I see. So the father identifies it, but then at the same time doesn't identify it. You've been online. You've ran. By the way, Father Joseph, plug your website. But you've been online for a minute. So can you tell me what you've seen on these platforms or what you would consider to be an ortho bro?
Absolutely. Okay, now I hear myself bubbling up.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold up 1 second. Let me cut this off. I think I know where this issue is, but I would have to reset the whole joint. So, all right, I got rid of it now. Try it.
Okay, let me see. Oh yeah. Okay, it's gone.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so basically, you're right. My website that kind of started it all is NFTU, which is at NFTU.net and has existed since 2004. So I have seen a lot of stuff. And I would say that the ortho bro phenomenon is probably about 10 years old. And just a little
So the father Jonathan said the same thing. He said around 2017, right?
Yeah, that's accurate. And
okay,
I would say right around that time, and it started with the move of Jay Dyer from Catholicism to Orthodoxy. But in the original time when that was still a new term, it just basically was Jay Dyer fans.
Right.
And one thing that I learned pretty early on, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset by this, even though it's still to a large degree true. I'm not sure if you or Father Jonathan said it, that like they were kind of pulling into Orthodoxy, that they were kind of just sort of what I would describe it as Orthodoxy adjacent. Okay. As in, I identify as Orthodox. I have some icons. I've got some stuff. Have you ever been in a
really
church?
Attending a church or anything?
Correct. They're not attending a church. They've not.
I agree. There's a lot of that too. Correct.
Yeah. So a lot, but really, what it comes down to is a lot of them eventually did make it and did get received into Orthodoxy, etc., and a number of them did. But what people don't realize is this is even true among the groups of orbiters that kind of developed around Jay Dyer that started their own YouTube lives. And not all of them were baptized either. Okay. So you have to understand that I would say that Father Jonathan's assessment is actually a very positive one, which I do appreciate, because his attitude is, if they're coming in the doors, at least we can work with them.
Exactly.
But not all of them are coming in the doors. Right. Many are very content to just stay on at home and pretend that, call themselves Orthodox and not
call themselves inquirers the rest of their life, maybe.
Yeah. And they didn't even do that until it was pointed out to them by a number of people publicly. They were just calling themselves Orthodox. And then people were like, are you baptized in a parish? And they're like, a lot of them were like, no. And so it's like, you're not, and a lot of them called themselves catechumens for a couple of years. But to be a catechumen, you have to be received by a priest through prayer. You can't just declare yourself a catechumen. So even where we are now in the Orthobro movement, that was a lot of trial and error on their part as they realized they were just screwing up over and over and
So
getting
they had to
corrected.
fix the terminology. They were being corrected. They would say before, because I'm interested in Eastern Orthodoxy, they would say things like, "Well, I'm Orthodox," or I'm a catechumen," and of course they can't even say that. That's incorrect.
If you're not catechized, you're not a catechumen.
Right.
In some stage of catechesis. But in any case, let me see here. Basically, what really united them at that time, especially, was, it was all orbiting Jay Dyer. And so that was your badge of orthodoxy. And that's what actually made a number of priests within World Orthodoxy really mad. And so one of the reasons that I think Father Jonathan's positive, but to some degree a little bit naive, is the fact that he's just seeing it as guys coming into orthodoxy, but he's not seeing it as guys coming into orthodoxy possibly with really, really wrong ideas. There was an argument between a very prominent World Orthodox priest about 3 years ago and Jay Dyer over a specific sexual sin. And I'm not going to get into it, but Jay was adamant it wasn't a sin. He wasn't willing to be corrected, and he began attacking the priest. And what ended up happening
come on.
Yeah.
You can't leave us hanging here.
Like, I would say this. It's canonized in the canons of John the Faster.
So it's definitely a sin according to the Eastern Orthodox Church then.
Yeah. And the priest was correct in pointing that out. But Jay didn't want to hear it and just declared it wasn't a sin, and a whole bunch of people attacked the priest. So again, I don't want to get into that because the canons of St. John the Faster, there's all the sexual sins. So I feel like I don't want to send people down that rabbit hole. But the point I'm trying to make is that when we're talking about like a counter quote unquote authority to the priest, yeah, to some degree, Jay has been that. And that's why a lot of people in various World Orthodox hierarchies don't like him.
So then let's do this before we begin by defining World Orthodoxy, because that's going to be huge. Just say this. So you're saying is they come into the movement, they are a part of an online community, and then Jay Dyer, who looks like he has, according to the canon, even in just this one particular spot, he has a very loose version, or he wasn't willing to be corrected by a priest. Hey, bro, that's literally a sin. So if he's kind of maybe drifting off in this area, would you also see, safe to say in your observance, is that there's other things? In other words, fast language, a lot of profanity, even a lot of people complain about the racist side of things. But do you see that as well? And not to say that you're calling them Orthodox, but tell me about what you observe in their behavior.
Well, again, and I hate to say this because I know a number of them are watching and they're getting confirmed that I am a hater of Jay Dyer, so on and so forth. Right. But there are a number of things. For example, I forget which interview it was, whether it was with Ruslan or someone else, and someone, I think it was whoever was talking to him, asked about the canons and mentioned that, and he was like, and this was just one of many grievous examples. He mentioned something about tying your horse, etc., in the canons, or where you put your horse. There is actually no canon except one prohibition on animals being in the church at all in all of the canons of Orthodoxy. There is a canon like that in Roman Catholicism, and this is a problem, is because Jay came out of Roman Catholicism as an expert, but constantly references back to Roman Catholic stuff as though it's Orthodox, and so people come up with terrible understandings of what Orthodoxy is. I've mentioned it to you, and I'm sure a few people have seen it, that I had a debate on a channel called The Crucible with someone on World Orthodoxy, and the guy actually referenced the Roman Catholic Council of 869, which is not an Orthodox council at all. We use 879. So the point is, but he came in with that argument, and I'm like, dude, that's not even an Orthodox council. I don't know what you're talking about. But the reason I bring this up is because the understanding of Orthodoxy among the Orthobros is often learning as we go, and that's fine. But you can't pretend you can't then pretend you have an authority that or knowledge that you don't. And so that is basically that's kind of a
summation of the behavior and sort of the thought process.
Yeah.
So then you got a lot of people that you would say come in as young dudes. They're souped up. They're watching a lot of these videos, and sometimes they're spewing inconsistencies or things that aren't even part of, let's say, not just canon, but just doctrines in general. Yeah. So then, all right. So then let's kick this off. And I want to show you a website. Okay. So go ahead and tell us what World Orthodoxy is versus you being true Orthodox. Give us sort of the lay of the land. and then we'll dive into. I would like to start from current day, and then maybe pull up one of the links that I have to a website, and then also a link to one of the popular, Council of Creed, or one of the ones that you want to direct me to that I can look up.
Yeah,
So give me the lay of the land.
I actually have a couple of shorts on the two largest Orthodox churches that are like a minute long, and they would answer a lot in that early history. But let's
Okay.
start with
Mhm.
what is the history of the term World Orthodox?
Yeah.
It's very simple, and a lot of people don't know it, and they don't like it because, first off, even the term itself implies something. When you say World Orthodoxy, it implies that is the worldly orthodoxy, so on and so forth. What they don't know is that term was actually created by one of the most well-known modern OCA priests today, who is himself World Orthodox. He used it in 1971. It was one of the Russian-American magazines where he was trying to refer to their churches, officially recognized churches. So he was
Who is that name, Father? Not to interrupt you.
Father Alexander Schmemann.
Okay.
He is one of the most well-known theologians of the 20th century in the English-speaking world. And he used the term in a magazine article. He said, "Us World Orthodox," and he was responding to traditionalists who were angry, would be us. And Father Seraphim Rose noted, who's just gotten glorified. He actually noted, well, using that term is kind of apropos, considering that they seem to be going towards worldly things. And that generally became the consensus among the true Orthodox or Orthodox traditionalists, that it's a really funny and great name. But we didn't come up with it. And so we just applied it, and that made them more mad. But they didn't realize that one of their own best guys created the term.
So when this term came out, was it something that was picked up really quickly? Like, did they go, "Ooh, one of our best guys, Alexander, just dropped that"? And was it kind of like a whoopsie, or was it just something went under the radar?
I think it was more of a simple whoopsie. It was in a magazine where he used the term. He thought it would clarify things because talking about the Orthodox throughout the world, not thinking how else that could be interpreted. And so once he did that, true Orthodox were all over the place. Everyone was using the term World Orthodox. It was just hilarious. And so that's part of the reason there, because really outside of the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church and Eastern Orthodoxy itself, we don't really have defining terms. So what I would say is the battle between World Orthodox and True Orthodox is really actually over the name Eastern Orthodoxy and who correctly holds that mantle.
All right. So this is it. Okay. So now you're helping me out. All right. So World Orthodox is what the Ortho Bros are currently in, the current church, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now tell us about True Orthodoxy, where it came from, when did it start, or are you still holding on? No, it's always been here in the schism. Tell me about
Well, I actually have two useful history videos that are a minute long, if I may share them.
Yeah, if you want to
give me just a moment. Yeah, I got a short here. I got a couple of shorts, so let me do that. I'll put it in the chat. Okay. Give me a second. Go to my channel, because I don't make many shorts, but I made a couple, and they turned out to actually be kind of popular. So I kept them. Let me see if I can find them.
You got it.
Here we go. All right, so here's these two, and hold on.
Yeah, and yo chat, if you want, you got some questions, of course, and I realize that I don't have super chats turned on, so just drop your questions when we get to the later part.
All right.
Of the broadcast.
So here's the first one. This is for the True Orthodox Church of Greece, and then I'm going to do Russia, and that will cover actually about 75% of the Orthodox world in the 1910s and 1920s. So let me put the first one in the private chat. Here it is. All right. And as I said, it's about a minute long, and then I'll get the second one right now.
All right. So then what we'll do is, since I'm still having that issue with the audio, then we'll just, you and I will mute up. We got to figure this out. Should I just reset this? All right. So let's go ahead and watch Father Joseph's video here, and maybe this will help out the audience and help us out. So I'll mute up on my side. Let's play this.
Church of Greece in 1924, having switched to the new calendar and signing on to the Ecumenist program of Meletius Metaxakis in 1920, caused a massive uprising among the Greek people, many of whom were willing to be martyred for the faith. All of Mount Athos assisted the people with mysteries and protection until 1935, when 3 bishops returned to the patristic calendar and made 4 more bishops to counteract the demonic activity of the state church, which was persecuting and even killing its own people. Due to a question over whether the state church would return to the church calendar or not, the True Orthodox Church of Greece split into 2 divisions, now known as the Florinites and Matthewites. While there are factions within these 2 bodies that tend to resolve themselves over time, the largest of these bodies in order, the GOC under Archbishop Kallinikos, the GOC under Archbishop Stephanos, the GOC under Archbishop Makarios, the GOC under Archbishop Pachomios, and smaller subsequent synods all individually work to preserve the Orthodox faith in canonical order versus...
Wait a minute. That, although surmises, I got a ton more questions.
Sure.
Yeah, but let me do something real quick. Okay. I guess maybe I'm more confused. So are you saying, okay, you said this the last live too. You also mentioned that there's new churches that sprouted up in the last 100 years as well. Okay, so tie that to what you just showed me on the video. Give me a breakdown again, but then tie that to how these new churches were established as well, which I found that mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, actually, I could do that with actually just Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries.
You just type in Orthodox Patriarchate, you'll see what I mean. And so I will bring it up right now. Hold on.
Yeah, and if you want to share that so you can go through it, share the screen.
Okay, so we're going to go like this, and then we're going to look for the patriarchates. And let me see if...
So chat, last time the father was on, he told me in the 14 churches, and he's going to want that there was, these were recently churches that were created in the last century here. So this is going to tie into this breakdown a little bit. So if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Give me a second.
You got it.
Okay, so here we are. This is the one I want because this is the one that has the dates. So you'll see that there are historical churches, and then you'll see that there are brand new 20th century churches.
Right.
So if you look here, and I just put that up there. I put a link to the Wikipedia.
All right,
All right. So you'll notice that you have the ancient patriarchates. You can find these in the Holy Fathers. So if you scroll down a bit, let's see here. Keep going. And so you'll see jurisdictions. So you see the 4 ancient patriarchates besides Rome, and those were all formed around by the 5th century. They were well established as patriarchates in the church. Then you have national patriarchates, which formed, and one interesting case was the Russian church in 1448. They declared themselves a patriarchate after the Council of Florence, and then eventually the rest of the church recognized them as a patriarchate in 1589, which for some reason Constantinople decided to try to reverse that like 5 years ago because they think they're like popes now. And then you have these autocephalous archbishoprics. You'll notice that the Church of Cyprus you can find in the Holy Canons. The Church of Greece has only been an autocephalous church since 1833. So yeah, that's surprising because they go back to apostolic times. But they were actually...
So where were they this whole time?
This is an interesting question. Where they were was they were actually under the direct jurisdiction of Constantinople. But Constantinople, after 1439, was taken over by the Muslims. So the independence of the Church of Greece literally was done while the Christian people in Greece were struggling to get independent from Turkey and from the Muslims. So ironically, Constantinople then kind of gave them a blessing, but they couldn't publicly do it because they didn't want to be killed by the Muslims, but it didn't matter. They declared themselves independent. The Patriarchate kind of waived it. And then the Muslims were like, you planned this. And they murdered him in front of his cathedral. So that was pretty cool. But now you'll start seeing 20th century stuff like the Polish Orthodox Church.
I see the Polish,
that's 24, the Czech lands. 1951. The Russians, but this is the Moscow Patriarchate or the Soviet Church, actually gave the OCA autocephaly in 1970, and there started a whole brouhaha as to whether they could do that. The Macedonian Orthodox Church was actually considered uncanonical since 1967, and then just magically, like 3 years ago, they brought it back.
What? Wait. Yo, bro, Chad, these are the same people saying, oh, you can't go around starting your own church. Well, apparently you can start it and then end it. All right. So then let's get to this then, Father. So so you give me the lay of the land, but now I got questions. All right. So let's get back to true orthodoxy. So are you saying that your claim is that your church has existed from the very beginning, uninterrupted? How do you make that claim?
Well, technically, our church, as it stands, like my synod, really was only given a blessing to exist in 1984. And it was given a blessing by Archbishop Maxentius of Athens. Now, this is something that there's some points to this and some interesting facts about this that we have to talk about. The first one is the Archbishop of Athens goes back to Saint Dionysius, Saint Dionysius of Athens, who was a disciple of Saint Paul.
Yeah, because I remember that name. So that would have been very early. You're saying is you can trace that back to that saint. And that blessing though, tell me why it's significant about the blessing in 84.
No, the blessing that we were given was actually to evangelize Western lands. In the canons, there is kind of a set situation because the canons do have rules for what happens if, let's say, historically, and this is where it gets a little complicated. Historically, if heretics take over an area, the idea is that the church can send a bishop into that area, and if he can survive for 3 years and evangelize the people back to orthodoxy, then he would get canonical rights over the territory. So it's a way of the church having a provision to bring back orthodoxy when orthodoxy gets taken out by heresy. And the reason I say this is an interesting point, and this is something for all of kind of even for Protestants, who this might be completely new. I've got some surprises for everyone. Like when we talk about ecumenism, where everyone's recognizing each other, all of that is fairly new. That started in 1910, 1920. Okay. In the Protestant world before the 20th century, many Protestant groups, most of them were exclusivist. So, like, for example, like the Methodists wouldn't recognize the Lutherans.
Yeah,
that one was, and so different types of Protestants in different countries would also be separated from each other because they didn't recognize each other. Because that is actually the Christian tradition. If somebody is a heretic, it's like, that's what says it in the scriptures. A heretic is given the first and second admonition, and then they are to be left alone. That's where that comes from. So really, and that's why I said at the beginning that true orthodoxy and world orthodoxy are sort of fighting over the term Eastern Orthodoxy, because they have a new calendar Archbishop of Athens, and we have a true Orthodox Archbishop of Athens. Both of us are claiming effectively to the same apostolic succession, but like, Highlander, there can be only one when you're dealing with heresy.
So then the claim goes back to the apostolic succession goes back to the same, like you said, the at least it seems to be nobody disputes the fact that it was the apostle, one of the disciples of Paul. Yeah. Okay. So then where are you at now in terms of what the church looks like? Obviously, they're all going to call you a schismatic and all this. So how does it stand right now in terms of communion, communication? Who recognizes? Is there any communication at all? What's going on?
Well, my personal experience originally was that, like, eventually that both sides are going to come to a conclusion where they'll learn to work together. Okay. But as I learn more over time, and I have learned a lot more over the past few years about global affairs. For example, in Romania, they were persecuted and tortured in the 1920s and 1930s. If you were traditional Orthodox, they were throwing everyone in the prisons. They were killing people left and right. Yep. And there was a true Orthodox Church of Romania, and I knew about it. I had some idea, didn't know much. But it wasn't until really the age of YouTube where true Orthodox of Romania started appearing more on on YouTube and stuff like that. And they were channels with thousands and thousands of people. And then it started coming out, and I never knew this because I didn't know the populations, but I learned this a couple of years ago talking to people in the True Orthodox of Romania, that they make up 3 to 4 million people. Well, 3 to 4 million people is 1/3 and coming up on 1/2 of the Orthodox population of Romania. Whoa. So they don't have, like in Romania, you can't just say, oh, well, those are some tiny schismatics. They're everywhere.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, it seems like it's the whole country almost.
Yeah, and that's my point. They keep growing. And when I went to Greece, even though we're in communion with a small True Orthodox jurisdiction, the True Orthodox of Greece make up roughly 1/4 to 1/3 of the Orthodox in the country. So you start realizing, why do they have to do anything?
Right.
They are slowly just getting bigger and bigger. There was a hilarious story of the previous Moscow Patriarch, head of ecumenism, Hilarion of Volokamensk, who they basically had to depose him because he was having a horrible scandal with some seminarian. But before that, there was an interview where he was explaining the weirdness of the situation between the True Orthodox and World Orthodox. And he said he went to Athens because he was going to go meet with the new calendar archbishop that he was in communion with. And he got in a lift or a cab or whatever. And the driver actually was like, Vladika, really, if you want to get to the real Orthodox Church, you have to go this way, and was pointing them in the direction of the True Orthodox Cathedral.
They're like, hey, listen, we got a real Orthodox Church, and then we got the other dudes.
Yeah. So the thing is, this is all of this stuff.
Is obviously, it's bigger than
all of this stuff is lost on the Orthodox because they were trained like SEALs to believe that there are no True Orthodox anywhere. There's lots of True Orthodox in America. We have a giant seminary in California. We have big cathedrals in New York and all over the place, and so it's crazy.
So then I heard somebody say something, and they sent it to me. I think it was it Jay Dyer or somebody did that clip. I think I told you about it, where he was like, "Oh, they only have like some spot in Florida."
Yeah, 5 people in a trailer in Florida. We love saying that. I think that is one of the few things that virtually all True Orthodox in America have adopted, saying something about 5 people in a trailer in Florida, simply because it's just that ridiculous that it's funny to us. So
yeah, that's what he said. That was it. It was a trailer park in Florida. Oh, by the way, let's give proper homage to Jay Dyer's laugh. Okay, so then it's not a trailer park in Florida.
He's like, oh,
yeah. It's not a trailer park in Florida. Then you're saying is they're all over the world. Okay, let's get to this. This is the key. I want to lean into this. Okay, so let's keep it real simple for the folks. The reason you say you can see people in Romania, and I'm pretty sure there's other places. What
I can show you a map.
No, I mean, if you like, I mean, that'd be okay too. But I'm just thinking in my mind before we get to the map.
Yeah.
What unites you
to people
is, can I just say it? I don't want to make it as simple as possible. Okay. Anti-ecumenists. No?
Yeah, I would say that's about 50% of it. But I would say to make a positive claim, I would say what unites us is our fidelity to the Orthodox faith. Okay. That is the criterion and has always been the criterion.
Okay. So before we do this, before we take a look at something else, I want to can I pull up? Okay. So tell me if I'm correct. You are saying, and True Orthodox is saying, that the current church, the big Eastern Orthodox, the World Orthodox Church is ecumenist.
Correct.
I want to get to the document that proves it. So the Council of the 2016 Council of Crete, is that one of the major documents that because it's short, can I pull it up and then you point me where you want me to go to tell me, look, Mahler, right here, read this, and what do you think? I want you to be able to point it to me. Is that something we can do right now?
It is. I just have to the text of that are somewhat large, but they're, the one reference.
I think I have this one here. I don't know if this link works. I mean, we can zoom in here, but this is this. Okay. Do I have the right? The holycouncil.org.
What's the? Okay, yeah, that's it.
Okay, this is it, right? Okay.
Hold on.
So then guide me. You know this document. Tell me where I should be going. I have some highlights here.
Okay.
But tell me when we read this, where you're like, right there, Molly, can't you see? It's clearly ecumenist. They're using the title church for other churches. Where should I go?
Okay. Well, let's take a look here. So we can start with relations of the Orthodox Church with the rest of the Christian world.
Okay. So is that here up at the top on
That should be on the main page because it's one of the main documents.
Okay. So then should I go to documents?
Let me see if you can go to official documents.
Is this like not?
Yeah, you could find it on official documents.
What I have this? Is this like not the English version? Oh, it's in French. Sorry, let me switch.
Yeah, you can just click on English.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
Wait, no. Okay.
There it goes. Okay, got it. All right. So here's the list of documents. So where am I going?
Scroll down a little bit.
All right. This one. Relations
that's
of the
one.
Orthodox.
Now, it's very important to remember that the ecumenists have had a very long time to work with on how to do the weasel wording. What I mean by that is to say, we still say we're the one true church, but we are praying with lady bishop from the Anglicans, etc., or with a lesbian bishop here. So what they have learned is how to legalize heretical behaviors. So let's take a look here. So if we go to relations of the Orthodox Church with the rest of the Christian world. Okay, let me see here. And I will.
All right, so chat, what we're looking at this document, he's going to walk us through, is, as he called it, the weasel language. Okay? Now, here's the thing, chat. Father Joseph's going to point to the weasel language, and ironically, the Ortho Bros are agreeing with Father Joseph. Correct? Is that a correct sort of?
Well, I would say that they would say that they're not agreeing with me because they would say if we were agreeing, you would be part of the church, which is circular. But
in one sense, they're agreeing with you that they don't like the language. They're anti-ecumenist.
Yeah, they're anti-ecumenist.
Okay.
But they can't do anything about it.
Okay, got it. Got you. All right. So which item here do you think
we can start with that? We can actually start at the beginning of the first one. So let's read that out loud because this is
all right. So then it says the Orthodox Church is the one holy Catholic Apostolic Church in a profound ecclesiastical self-consciousness believes unflinchingly that she occupies a center place in the matter of promotion of Christian unity in the world today. Is this already a problem?
Yeah. Because think about it. If you're the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, then you're already united in Christian unity. So who are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like in chat, are you guys watching this? Okay, so Father Joseph is saying, I got a problem with this language. But you know what, Joseph? You know these guys cope. They say this is just unofficial terms that we use with the world. It's colloquial. It's like it's just this thing that we say. They're saying there's nothing loaded. There's nothing behind it. It's just simply a way to be nice, to call other churches church or Christians Christians.
Yeah,
it's just being nice in a way.
It gets worse. It gets worse.
All right. So let's get to the worst part.
I did see a comment that I do want to address because Ortho says, ironically, the Ortho Bros have the same attitude about Protestants and others that true Orthodox do. I would venture to disagree. And the reason why is because if I already know that somebody is outside the church and the tradition says that they're outside the church, let's say that, you're a Protestant, you believe in, but you have a belief in Jesus Christ, but I would say that that's not correct, etc. But I understand these things. So I'm not going to get upset about it.
Right.
And the reason that the Ortho Bros get upset about it is because they know their leaders are saying things like, these are our fellow Christians and our brothers and sisters, and they don't want to say that. Right. So I think it's best put, I forget if it was their elder Porphyrios that they declared this in or something. And he's like, I hate ecumenism. It gets me angry. None of us are angry. We're just not in communion with it. You're angry because your conscience is burning you and you know you're supposed to do something else
about it. Yep.
And so that's why they're angry.
Are you guys listening to the logic that Father Joseph's putting forward, chat? He's essentially saying, you guys are in a pickle, a conundrum. And you have to be able to talk us through why you're in this situation. So give me some of the weasel language here that you think is in here that's powerful.
So let's we go through number two. Number two is actually not terrible.
Okay,
It does
this kinda
almost
down that track.
expresses the Orthodox position, but in the context of these other bad statements, the meaning is changed.
Okay.
So, like it says here, for example, this unity is expressed through the apostolic succession and the patristic tradition and is lived out in the church to the present day. But the question here, as you will see later, is are the Orthodox the only ones that claim apostolic succession? We know that that's not the case. We know that Roman Catholics claim apostolic succession. Non-Monophysites claim apostolic succession. Nestorians claim apostolic succession. Many Anglicans claim apostolic succession. So what do they mean? And I say that that's important because, as you'll see in future numbers, it switches the goalpost from the church is united through apostolic succession to everybody who claims apostolic succession is part of the church.
No way. I got to see that.
You'll see this. You'll see how it goes.
Wow.
So let's get to number 3 and watch what happens.
All right. So the responsibility of the Orthodox Church for unity, as well as her ecumenical mission, were articulated by the ecumenical councils. But okay, hold on a second. I'm just going to ask you about this, but I think this is later in the document. This is later in the document, but that reminded me of something. Okay, so these stress most especially the indissoluble
indissoluble bond, the unbreakable bond.
So the unbreakable, right? Bond between true faith and sacramental communion. Hold on, let me move my screen here. Okay, so hold on real quick. Don't they have an issue with this definition?
Yeah.
You see, the problem school me on this. I've been reading this stuff for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm just learning the definitions, the words.
This is a perfect example of what I'm referring to as weasel wording.
And then so zone in, because I'm thinking of something. You know what I'm thinking about, but share it with the audience before we go back to the document. What is it that I'm zoning in on the ecumenical? What is have they defined that?
Well, that's the problem. The ecumenical councils are by themselves already defined. They have minutes. They have information like just like this website, which claims to be a semi-ecumenical council, depending on which World Orthodoxy you talk to. Like, for example, someone in the Greek Archdiocese holds that 2016 is an ecumenical council, just like the Council of Nicaea, etc., or more like, I would say, more like the Palamite councils, because they're pan-Orthodox. But practically, they have the same level of discipline. The problem with number 3, the responsibility of the Orthodox Church for unity, as well as her ecumenical mission, were articulated by the ecumenical councils. Right. But how did it do that? Because each of the ecumenical councils reunited the Orthodox who had been split apart by imperial machinations, by heretics taking over their sees, etc., and ultimately reunited the Orthodox, vindicated them, and then declared the heretics anathema. This is literally the opposite of what they're doing, because have you ever seen the Assisi picture in 1986?
No.
Oh, let me send you a picture of this. This is funny because this is what they mean, these modernists, by ecumenical movements, and this would have made everyone in the ecumenical councils, including the heretics, horrified by this sort of so-called unity. Hold on, let me just put.
Oh no! Am I going to be shocked?
I don't know. Maybe this. Oh, this is a nice quality picture. Let me put this here. I'll send you the image address, and you could share it. And this is what ecumenism means to modern people now. That's joint prayers with just about every. I put it in the chat there.
Oh, so, I have not seen this one. I've seen another. I guess maybe a variation or version of this. But
yeah, this is the 1986 right Assisi.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is Pope John Paul, right? Yeah. Here? Okay. All right, hold on. Look at this chat. So there's the image broken down.
Yeah, you
altogether.
have the ecumenical patriarch right in between the Pope and the
Right here,
Archbishop
right?
of Canterbury of the Anglicans. You have a
Okay.
Russian representative to the left of him, and I think that's the Ukrainian representative to the left. On the other side, you have the Dalai Lama.
Yep.
I forget what those other religion guys are called, but there's some East Asian
Yeah, East Asian.
syncretation thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other images that you can pull up where it shows like Native American, like pagans, like celebrating. It's all mixed together. This canonically in the canons of the Orthodox Church
It's not allowed.
it is forbidden, and more importantly, anyone who engages in it should be suspended or deposed. That is how seriously they took it.
So wait a minute. So if this type of activity is happening,
yep,
and you have the ortho bros that are going on, we're against this, or other priests, and I wanted to show you a website on that.
It makes me so mad.
Yeah, it's like I'm so upset, but then what? You literally, so then they do. You said they can't do anything.
No, they can't because their leaders are for it.
Well, okay, all right. So hold on, chat. We have to slow down, okay, chat. So because we have to understand something, that what the Father Joseph here is doing is he's giving us the proper view of the sort of pickle that these guys have got themselves into. And I think it's appropriate that we put on the sad music, the deep music to explain this, chat. Okay? The ortho bros are out here going, oh, I can't believe it. We hate these ecumenists. But yet 10 to 11 of their patriarchs, I would say, have signed on in some way, because the Russian document is very damning, and basically says that there's Christians, Christendom. They are brethren, brothers. And they tell us because we share the essentials. I hate to break this to you, chat, but these ortho bros don't have any recourse. So what do? Well, Joseph, if you're in this church, what do?
You leave. That's what Canon 15 of the First Second Synod in 861 says. I will put it up on the screen.
Please put that up on the screen.
No
Chat,
problem.
are you guys listening to this? Chat, if you guys just want, we'll just end the live right now if you're not listening to what he's saying.
I think a lot of people are kind of upset, and they're using basic things, which I can cover, like the attacks on the Holy Metropolitan Vitali, who died in 2000 and I think he died in 2006 is what I want to say. Okay, so let me send you this, because this is actually on the website of Esphigmenu, which is one of the largest, it is the largest monastery on Mount Athos, and the only one that resists ecumenism or even talking to the patriarch. Because the patriarch is the nominal owner of the Holy Mountain, even though he's kind of not, it's not supposed to actually be, they've been under siege since the 1970s. Like, they've had their power cut off. Most recently last year, because they couldn't kill them. Many of the monks did die from things like health issues, etc. But like even like 2 years ago or the year before that, they blew up the roads, so there would be no way for the monks to get there. Now, keep in mind, monasteries on Mount Athos are huge, and so they could survive, and they grew their own food, and so they're fine. They're still the largest monastery on Mount Athos because people support them, and they have a lot of support throughout Greece. So the ecumenical patriarch is actually actively trying to kill a bunch of old monks on Mount Athos. But they explain why they do what they do, and so you can see the canon is very clear.
So where am I reading here what it says? It would say to leave.
Yeah, you can see. You can start with the beginning, but you can always start with the proper procedure.
The proper procedure. Where am I seeing that as? At this? Right here, second paragraph. Okay. Proper procedure within the church is to call for an ecumenical synod of the clarification of the dispute. No local synod controlled by the bishop in dispute.
Referring to the ecumenical patriarch. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So then it's not the procedure of the church to call the police to enforce blockade of food, water, and medicine to the monks with whom you disagree. Dang. This gets really horrible, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then you'll see here, it says, here's what the canons of the church say on this. Okay. So that if any presbyter or bishop or metropolitan dares to secede from communion with his own patriarch and does not mention his name, takes his name out of the diptychs when he's saying mass, as ordered and appointed in the divine mystagogy, but before a synodical arrangement and the patriarch's full condemnation, he creates a schism. So if you just randomly break communion with your patriarch, that's creating a schism, which is why the people like to say, oh, they're schismatics. But that's not true. It says the Holy Synod has decreed that this person be alienated from every priestly function. So if you just willy-nilly take out your patriarch's name, you're supposed to be deposed. These rules have been sealed and ordered concerning those who, on the pretext of some accusations against their own president, stand apart, creating a schism and severing the unity of the church. But you see the boldface here. But as for those who, on account of some heresy condemned by the Holy Synods or Fathers, sever themselves from communion with their president, that is because he publicly preaches heresy and with bared head teaches it in the church, such persons as these not only are not subject to canonical penalty for walling themselves off from communion with the so-called bishop, and for synodal clarification, but they shall be deemed worthy of due honor among the Orthodox. For not bishops, but false bishops and false teachers have they condemned, and have not fragmented the church's unity with schism, but from schism and divisions have they earnestly sought to deliver the church. So the point is that our job as Orthodox, if people are preaching heresy, is to break communion, to go to bishops who are preaching the truth.
So then you're being instructed to preserve doctrinal succession over everything.
That is the Orthodox way.
Bingo. All right. So I'm already being told, Mueller, can you let somebody up here and challenge him?
Oh, so please. I'd love to.
Yeah, I know you would. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Father Joseph, would you be willing to debate like somebody like, Jay Dyer?
Not only am I willing to debate him, actually last year I did a 90-day challenge after he said those lies about the trailer park, and he didn't respond to it. He started saying I didn't have enough followers, stuff like that. But in the end, basically, now he says that I'm part of, like, we're all CIA agents and we're out to get him. So...
Yo, bro. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Since we're all on this, apparently over the weekend, we're also a part of, I think they accused us of being Zionists. I don't know if they said we're part of the Mossad. Yeah. It doesn't know the position. He thinks that, I'm that's not my position, by the way. I'm not a evangelical Zionist or whatever. But anyways, it's just funny to me how they all start to just try to throw out these things. So I saw a video the other day too. I don't know if we should expose it, but I sent it over to a couple brothers, and it's where basically you might find this interesting. I think it's legit, but I'm going to play it anyway. And guess what it is? It's one of the fathers that I think are a little bit popular right now. Let me see if I have it. Sure. And he is telling us this is how you deal with people that disagree with you. So apparently this is audio, again, allegedly. So let me click it because I sent it over to a couple of the brothers that we have in the chat. And
the commenter who says, I left ROAC. I left as a layman. I was never a priest in ROAC.
Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, tell us that real quick. So then your background is you came into the church, and then when did you left? Because I think you told us that last time. When did you move over to True Orthodoxy?
I actually started in True Orthodoxy.
Oh, so you did? Okay.
I was originally a Roman Catholic.
Oh,
and what ended up happening was I came into Orthodoxy in 1997. Now, back then, the Row Corps was kind of in between. They were in communion with a lot of true Orthodox people, so on and so forth. But it would be a few years later that they would want to move towards the Moscow Patriarchate. That's how Metropolitan Vitaly got persecuted, because he didn't know that they were planning this behind his back. It's really a tragic story what happened to Metropolitan Vitaly of blessed memory. But the point is, I was just a catechumen, and I watched as the ecclesiology and Row Corps flipped. And I went over to some Greek monastery in Boston, where people had mentioned, "Have you been there?" And I decided to go there, and their confession was fine, and their bishop baptized me, and so I was always True Orthodox.
Oh wow, okay, so True Orthodox from day one.
Yeah.
Well, look at this, because I think what's going to happen is all of this is going to get turned up, but apparently this is allegedly audio from, do you know this father here? Father Stephen
Jay
DeYoung?
Dyer's favorite priest, celeb co-host, Father Stephen DeYoung. Funny you should mention him.
Well, listen to this, because apparently this is, allegedly, this is the way they deal with people they disagree with. Let's see if we can catch this audio.
I've never
'Cause there's
seen
a-
this, by the way. 'cause
Yeah, I haven't either. I saw it
would-
earlier.
I would
and-
remember if I saw Father Stephen DeYoung with a bunch of M&Ms. A
Well,
bunch of
yeah,
candy.
well,
I
it
mean,
looks like
I'd
it's
remember.
it looks like it's just a shot. So, like I said, I say allegedly because I don't know. This was just a source on X. Apparently, this gal has audio of him saying, "This is how you deal with people you disagree with."
Okay.
Okay, so you settle this with ridicule and, if necessary, violence.
So far that sounds like his voice, but it looks like he's
That's his
speaking.
voice, but I couldn't totally understand him.
Yeah,
Is there
so
a way
what
you
he
can
was
hit
saying,
the CC
yeah,
on it?
yeah, I tried to get it as loud as possible, but it's her recording. It's a gal recording of a recording. It sounds like he's having a conversation with some gal. I don't know if it's her, the one in the video, but essentially, how do you handle disputes? And he says essentially ridicule and violence. And then they start laughing. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going
Nice.
on because I don't know anything about this guy, but apparently he's popular amongst the ortho bros.
Yeah, well, I didn't know much about him. I knew he worked on a Bible translation or some text that was about biblical interpretation. But most recently, I started hearing about his use of the term divine counsel. And this is, I believe,
Wait a minute, isn't divine counsel language from what's his name who passed?
Michael Heiser, I believe it is. Like, this is all new to me. But apparently, I didn't quite understand. Like, why didn't he just use celestial hierarchy, which is the traditional term that the Orthodox
Yeah, I was gonna say
use?
that was definitely Heiser's. I'm not sure he invented it, but he popularized it in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to have been like some like old Judaic pre-Christian pagan sort of thing where they kind of viewed the angels in a pantheon.
Yeah,
that's
and
insane.
it's kind of a directly a council that they show around the Lord, and the Lord is in this council. So
the only thing that even resembles something like that is the 4 and 20 elders of Revelation, but that is definitely not what they're talking about because they're including the angels and calling them gods, which is insanity.
Okay, so let me do this. Let me mute this and let's play this through. I'm gonna mute so that's not auto the doubling. I'm gonna mute real quick and we'll just play this through. Let's try to listen to it and I'll try to make it out because I'm trying to see if you or I are gonna agree on the tactic.
Especially when I grew up in the 80s. Okay, so you settle this with ridicule and, if necessary, violence. You make fun of them, and if they get really pernicious, you punch them, right? Like, I think. Sorry for my Gen X approach, but that's. No, I mean I hear it. Like, answer not a fool according to his folly, but as my famous. Sometimes you do answer a fool. Yeah, sometimes you have to answer a fool according to his folly.
Or maybe just question the fool. Maybe don't answer him. Maybe ask him some questions like, why would you punch somebody? Why would you mock and ridicule somebody?
Like, there has to be answers. Right. I can answer somebody. I can rip somebody apart without standing on a stage with an equal-sized podium next to them. Right. And, like, shaking their hand beforehand and acting like, you know. Well, he certainly didn't shake his hand. The debate on the platform, he can rip this guy for 3 weeks. He has a bigger audience, right?
Is that a proper way for an Orthodox priest to teach and speak in public? To say that if you have a bigger audience or a podium, to just use that to mock and ridicule and rip people apart? And now he's going to make fun of somebody that was excommunicated. There's nothing funny about excommunicating somebody. How is this funny?
Right. I mean, Matthew Heibach was dealt with he got excommunicated from the Orthodox Church 3 times. I don't know if you know about that. He got excommunicated from an Antiochian church, and so he snuck into a Russian church where the priest barely spoke English. Okay. And didn't know he'd been excommunicated. But then as soon as his bishop found out he was there, he got excommunicated from that church.
So the Antiochian church excommunicates a man and their priest, Father DeYoung, who is, by the way, recommended by other priests. When catechumens come into churches, and or young people or
I'll leave it there. But apparently she's catching a hot mic or recording. Father Joseph, you're still muted, just to let you know. And basically him, having a good time. We don't have all the context, but my point is, it seems like you and I know you've been ridiculed a lot, not wanting to, let's say, debate the topics, right? And I know it doesn't really bother you. Same thing over here. By the way, now that we know Swathen, and I'm Mexican, so then we're we're a couple of dumb Hispanics. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm much dumber than you because you're educated on all this stuff. But this is how they're going to approach this. A couple of dumb Hispanics talking about this. But what I notice is that this is kind of a guy that's floating in their area. I think a couple of these guys have him on, and it does seem like the MO. Like if they are losing a debate, they don't want to talk about the issues. What they're going to do is they're going to start to ridicule you. They're going to start to kind of just move away from the actual topic and not want to debate. Is this some of the stuff that you've experienced in this topic that you've been wanting to debate?
Oh, absolutely. I would say that this has kind of been the MO. But really, I've always seen that as kind of what Jay Dyer does, because he uses mass block lists and stuff like that. To hear Father Stephen DeYoung say it is kind of gross. And I don't know the guy well, but yeah, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth, because unfortunately the true Orthodox throughout the world, whether in Greece or in Russia or in Romania or in Bulgaria, they've seen the violence. They've heard of people who were martyred literally by state police for protecting the tradition. In Russia, that was in the thousands.
Yeah, I've heard of
if
that.
not the millions, but at least the thousands in terms of recognized martyrs. And for people to be like, the answer is probably violence. I myself have personally, ever since we've gotten more visible in the past 3 years, the true Orthodox on the internet, I've heard actual people say to me that I should be thrown into an asylum and my property should be confiscated. That's a direct thing the Soviets actually did to true Orthodox clergy. So when people say, "Oh, these are just random, schismatics," and then they say the same things that these evil psychopaths who took churches by force say, and then say like you deserve it, tells me that I think we're on the right path here, because you're saying the same exact stuff as your spiritual ancestors.
Yeah, it
And
seems.
that's evil.
Yeah. It seems like it's the same sort of rhetoric that maybe starts as a joke with laughing, but as soon as they have power, it becomes reality.
Yeah, and they
All
don't
right,
have power here, so they hate.
Yeah, of course, and thank God that they don't. All right, so let's get back to the weaselly language here that you mentioned. Okay, so we were on number 3. We kind of broke down where we see even the debate about the ecumenical definition. And again, you're saying you're actually reading these documents. You know this language that they use. What are we looking for? Let's say in item 4 or 5. I know item 6 is really powerful from what I read before. It just seems to talk about this term right here. So tell me about this. Is this something? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that the traditional view of the non-Orthodox is it's just what St. Basil said in the 4th century. People fall into heresy, schism, or unlawful assembly. And those 3 things are defined as follows. Heresy means false teaching. You're not holding to the traditional teaching of Christ and the apostles. Schism is separation from the ecclesiastical body to try to form a parallel body without reason. Like there's no heresy involved. The people are Orthodox, it becomes like a personal reason. This is what happened with Donatism. And then finally, unlawful assembly, where a guy just says, you know what, these guys, the church is wrong. We're starting a new assembly and claiming it to the rank of the church, which has happened historically many times. So the concept of the non-Orthodox Christian churches is largely recent. And I would say that you don't really see much of it until the late 18th century, which is true of basically, again, almost all the churches throughout the world. The Roman Catholics weren't involved in ecumenism until around 1930.
Okay.
Protestantism wasn't involved in ecumenism until 1910. So nobody had this concept of non-Orthodox Christian churches. Everyone believed that their church was the Orthodox church, whether with big O or little o.
Right.
The point is, they didn't see this whole ecumenical movement or merging together.
So then this language right here is
Mhm.
key and crucial to start to expand a wider net, create the ecumenist sort of doctrine, we like to call it.
Mhm.
So then walk me through, is there maybe another paragraph that you wanted to hone in on, or is this 6 good here?
Let's continue here, because let's see here.
Should I scroll up?
Let's go to number 7, because number
7. All right, let's go to number 7. If you want to go ahead and read, is it big enough there for you?
I can do that.
Yeah.
In this spirit, all the local most holy Orthodox churches participate actively today in the official theological dialogues, and the majority of these churches participate in various national, regional, and international Christian organizations, in spite of the deep crisis that has arisen in the ecumenical movement. This manifold activity of the Orthodox Church springs from a sense of responsibility and from the conviction that mutual understanding and cooperation are of fundamental importance if we never wish to put an obstacle in the way of the gospel of Christ. So it's an interesting reading of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, but what's really important here is that their claim in 2016 is that every single major church of world Orthodoxy is involved at the national level. Like, if you think of the World Council of Churches, they're all involved. If you think of the National Council of Churches, they're all involved with.
So they're in this bucket?
Yeah, they're flat out saying it. Yeah, they're in there.
I'm not catching it. I'm reading it right now. I'm not catching, but you're saying this is what they mean by this.
Yeah,
the big church bucket, the world.
And it's right there at the first sentence.
So they're saying right here in this manifold?
No, in this spirit.
In this spirit. All the most holy. Wait, no. Wait, you're saying this?
Yeah. Just finish the sentence. Yeah.
Chat. Look at my face, chat. Wait.
Remember the Ortho Bros being mad about it? Well, they're all in it. They're all in it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, bro. You know what? We're just gonna end the live right here. We'll see you guys later. Yo, this is crazy. Yo, chat. No, we're gonna have to let this simmer, chat. Yeah, it's a wait, what? Hold on. We're gonna let's do the old school. Wait, what? Do I still have that joint with the dog look? Wait, what? You can't make this up, bro. You can't make this up. Mahler can't engage with the position. Wait, what?
What position? I don't even understand the position.
What does that mean, bro? So he brings a schismatic priest?
Oh, yes.
I'm engaging literally with the position, bro. This is your church right here.
I'm schismatic because I am not involved in the official theological dialogues or participating in the various national, regional, and international Christian organizations.
Yo, this is crazy. To be so chat. So then to accuse me of running, I'm not engaging with the topic. I literally have him on here. If there's somebody in your church, in your World Orthodox Church, that would like to come up, that's an authority, Father Joseph's here. Send the link. I'll send it to whoever you want. We'll drop it, and you can pull up and you can prove him wrong that the most holy Orthodox churches participate actively to. Oh, come on, bro.
Yeah, Sean is right. Look, the position equals J. Dyer, so everyone is clear.
Wait a minute. Which one are you looking at here? Wait.
Sean Sidonius.
Okay. Yep. This is exactly the point. You have nailed it. But then I'm the one that's getting accused of running away. I'm not running from anything. Me and Father Joseph are leaning in like a couple of dumb Hispanics. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but hey, might as well throw him in there too.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is wild. This is wild, bro. Okay, all right. So anyways, drop the link. What do you mean? Why? Are you an authority?
I do it.
Hold up.
I'll talk to non-authorities.
Okay, so you'll talk to laities?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's get through this though. Come on, let's continue here because what I'm being told is that the ortho bros are apparently in a church and their hands are tied and they're a bunch of ecumenists.
I'm so
pretending to
angry
be-
about it.
Yeah, and they're pretending to be anti-ecumenist. Okay, so I'm okay. All right, let's go. Let's move to another portion. So we're number 7 right now.
Don't be CIA.
Anything else you want to jumps out at you? Let me know. Where are we at? Do you think you want to go to 8? Anything else?
Let's see here.
What is this? This is dialogue with other Christians. Well, I just think it's huge. So
Yeah.
So let me ask you, according to the way you see it,
Mhm.
you're in World Orthodoxy now, okay? Meaning you're playing you're playing the advocate here, okay?
Yeah. Mhm.
Does this Christian include Catholics and Protestants? Are they saying that we are in some form of salvation when they make this statement and call us Christians?
Yeah. One thing that there is an ardent new calendarist named Ethan Wayne who is popular on Twitter. And ironically, he can't stand the Ortho Bros. But finally, when I came out and pointed out that he was right, because he was basically saying, no, of course we recognize non-Orthodox as part, within the church. I was like, I know, that's your historic position. And he's like, I really appreciate the old calendarists for being consistent. And that got them so mad.
Yo, chat, did you hear this? We're reading their document. Oh, and you know how they all go around going, oh, yeah, oh, you're just a dumb Mexican. You're not even saved. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, according to their church, we in the ark. We in the ark. What? Okay. All right. So
Well, they're World Orthodox. That's their position, but the historic
Yeah.
Orthodox position and the historic position
No.
for
According to
everyone.
according to your position, Father Joseph, we ain't in the ark. I respect it. I got it. No problems.
Yeah,
we
and
got
you
no
probably,
problems.
You might think I'm not in the ark. Like,
Yeah,
I
I would honestly, to be honest with you, you call me an ecumenist because I believe we're gonna go to the Russian document in a second.
I gotta
because
get
I
you.
know-
I gotta get you like into like more of a German Protestantism, like the Amish or the Mennonites, because they're
Hey,
pretty
the
close.
Amish, I'm not gonna lie. I live out in the country, so I'm feeling. But let's do this before we get people start to say that we're in this like, oh, you guys are non-conspiracies, bro. This is not even a real document. This is the document of 2016, right? Council. All right. So I have questions. Okay. Since we don't know what makes a council ecumenical council, apparently according to the church, I've had a bunch of different answers on that. This pan-Orthodox council, tell me what that means. Lay it out for everybody. And
Sure.
apparently 10 of the 14 it was that went, and the other 4 had some various reasons. One, I believe, Georgian was the one that was clear to say, we don't like the language of this joint. But everybody else was more like clerical. They had some other issues. So tell us about how this.
At least one of them groups actually said we just can't make it. Like
it was one that said you're right. One that said we can't make it. I think the Georgians were kind of like, we don't like this crap. They were the only ones that were clear.
Well, the Georgians are freer. Were freer to do that, and that I'm of a mixed opinion on the Georgians because
they're pretty hardcore, right? They're at least are they kind of still.
Everyone likes to hold up the Georgians, but from a true Orthodox side, we know a little different. And what I mean, here's why the Georgians are not involved in the ecumenical movement and why that may change. In 1996, there was a letter written by the heads of all the monasteries in Georgia to the patriarch saying you must leave the ecumenical movement because they were in the ecumenical movement. People forget Patriarch Elia was himself a WCC head. They wrote this letter and said, if you don't leave the ecumenical movement immediately, we are going to break from you and we are going to join the true Orthodox. And when they said that, that scared the daylights out of Patriarch Elia. So what he did was he immediately was like, we have to pull out of the ecumenical movement. I don't want to deal with any disunity in the church, etc. A bunch of the abbots still left.
So he basically got shook down, he got pressed, and then he says, all right, let's back off.
Right. So ultimately, that he did actually demonstrate that gave him some leverage among some traditionalists throughout the world that were still in the official churches because they were like, oh, finally, someone's going to do something. He didn't do anything. But the point is, he at least wasn't part of the WCC. A lot of Georgian bishops throughout the years since then have said, well, once he dies, we're probably just going to go back in. Well, he
Oh, wait a
lived
minute. So they're
really,
going to go back into the Crete under
he
the
li-
umbrella.
yeah, but he literally lived for so long that he only died like last month. And so they just elected, he handpicked the guy, they picked
Yeah.
that guy, but they still don't know whether he's going to do anything. But they literally made a new patriarch like 2-3 days ago or something.
Wow,
So,
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Because I'm
So-
part of that other website that tells me what's going on with the Orthodox Church. Okay. So then you're
So-
telling me you have a suspicion that they're going to jump in.
a hunch they're going to ease
Okay.
their way back in.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll just call it 12. The reason I say 12 is because you're familiar with the Russian council, or let's say it looks like almost like a pre-outline or preamble to this. The language is very similar in the Russian church, and actually there they lay out some essentials.
Yeah.
And so I want to go to that document, but before we do that, let's finish up here to point out. So far we had the most holy Orthodox churches that's mentioned, and now Father Joseph is putting us on that. Hey, that means all the churches. What is some other language here in the rest of these areas that you kind of want to look at, if you remember any?
Yeah. Well, if you look here, and this is in it, remember I told you about that apostolic succession up,
Yes.
up further? Look
Yeah.
in number 8. In
All right.
number 8, they begin to use actually the language that is used for prayers of ordination.
Okay, I see it.
And specifically, though, will make up that which is lacking. Now, this is actually kind of I hate to say it's like an in-joke or in-group comment within the Orthodox position, but the idea is this. Oftentimes, historically, when people return from heresy, but they had a rank, they would be read ordination prayers, but sometimes read like very quick ones. So there's like a difference between hierotonia, which is a full laying on of hands, and hierothesia, where you just read the prayers and you just like kind of tap the person.
Kind of
Because you're
pronounce it over
right,
them.
right. You're kind of respecting the fact that they had a rank, etc. before.
Okay.
So that is a historical thing. But the implication of many ecumenists is that by doing this, we actually recognize their ordinations, which is what is that's the reference to what was up there with apostolic succession. So it's a subtle way of hinting that there is apostolic succession outside the body of the Orthodox Church, which is very much not the teaching of the Orthodox Church.
Okay, so then, so they're basically saying, you guys got apostolic succession, everybody's got a car.
Everybody's got apostolic succession.
Oh my goodness. Chat, what do we do? Should we let's just end the live again, chat. All right, so then let me ask you this. Is it safe to say that even from your perspective, from the true Orthodox, you don't go around willy-nilly using this thing? Oh yeah, Muller's a Christian. You wouldn't even say that. You would say he's a Protestant, an evangelical.
I personally could say that from a technical standpoint, as a Protestant, you're formally a Christian. I wouldn't say that, because to go so far, and I don't like doing this, to go so far as to say nobody is a Christian. I'm not saying you. From a technical standpoint, I realize I used to be one of those guys when I was young. Like, I was a jerk. Where I'd be like, no, if you're not part of the Orthodox Church, you're not Christian. But what good does that do? I already can call, Protestants heretics. Like, how much worse do I want to make it? Are you inside the church? No.
Yeah, but even within your church, meaning, let's say you're having, let's say it's Father Joseph and a couple of other fathers, or even a bishop, and you guys are hanging out. Are you going like, oh yeah, I heard he's a Christian? Or do you say, no, I heard he's a Catholic. I heard he's a Protestant.
No, we'll usually use, if we know their denominational term, we'll just use their denomination.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But anyways, so I'm getting this. I'm getting the
language.
And
we wouldn't say Catholic. We would say Papist, because we believe we're Catholics.
Oh, dang. Okay. All right. He corrected me. He's
hope worshippers.
And now he's one of these papists. All right. So then can I go over to the Russian document?
Sure.
And I want to get your take on this, because I find a couple of these, these ROCOR guys, they come out as the most hardcore. Tell us a little bit, while I pulled this up, about your opinion of the Russian church. Talk to us about that.
Well, first, I think if you look in the private chat, I do have the True Orthodoxy in Russia. It's the second link.
Okay.
1 minute.
See. Oh, okay. So then what we're gonna do is I fix this dang audio. All right, that's the second
Let me shut
one.
off
Okay. All right, let me do this.
Oh, and the reason they cut off is because they're loops. Ukaz 362, issued by Patriarch Saint Tikhon in 1920, governed how the church should organize while being persecuted by the Soviets. Individual bishops and dioceses could reorganize as temporary higher church administrations until such time as the entire church could be reunited to elect a free patriarch. This ukaz would allow the church to operate freely, even if communications with the Supreme Church Authority was impeded or even destroyed. Ukaz 362 governed not only the Catacomb Church in Russia, but the Rokor and what would eventually be used as a foundation for the Rohak in Russia, the Rokor under Metropolitan Vitaly that fled under the threat of union with Moscow, the Artak, Rokor under Metropolitan Agafangel in 2007, Rokor under Archbishop Andronik in 2016, catacomb-descended churches in Russia, all of which exist today due to
again going on the loop, but okay, break this down to us.
Mhm.
What was this that they broke down and they kind of got back together temporarily to be able to create a church, or what was that?
What basically Ukaz 362 did, because Patriarch Saint Tikhon foresaw that what the Soviets were going to try to do was to take over the church and use it as a tool of state atheism.
Okay.
So what he did was he wrote a document where he explained every bishop in the Russian church now can, if they don't have, because normally there's canons that govern how bishops interact with each other, who runs what, how the bishop, his diocese is run. What Ukaz 362 was, it said there's a temporary measure that I'm putting in place. Remember that Patriarch Saint Tikhon was the first actual patriarch, and we would argue the last actual patriarch in like 300 years. Like before that, they had just elected him. He basically said, he wrote out the document, Ukaz 362, every bishop basically has almost like full authority over his diocese, like if you were a patriarch. And so effectively bishops who were trapped like out of range with other bishops could operate effectively autonomously. And then if you can get together with other bishops, you can form what's known as a temporary higher church authority. And so this was actually what the bishops outside Russia did. They got together and in Sremski Karlovci in Serbia, and they were like, we're declaring ourselves the Russian bishops outside of Russia. And so that became the Rokor, the Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia. And there were other Russian bishops in America and the Americas, so on and so forth. And they either joined the Rokor or like one group formed the Metropolia, which would become the OCA. But the whole point is that there was a framework there for survival until the Soviets fell, until Orthodoxy was restored in Russia. So basically, all of the kind of true Orthodox that you see in Russia, and there's over 1 million of them there, etc., even though they're heavily persecuted, and all these different groups come from that ukaz of Saint Tikhon. Either A, they come from bishops that use that ukaz to continue surviving in Russia, or more of a majority that descended from the Rokor and then had their authority because they lived in Russia, etc.
So then what is the biggest view, considering how they're put together and the Russian bishops outside of Russia?
Yeah.
So what is the big issue with that, or what do you think is the stickiest point there, or what you see as problematic in their history?
Well, I don't see it as necessarily problematic. I see it as divinely protected, because what would happen was in 1943, exactly what was predicted by the document would happen. And that is in 1927, Metropolitan Sergius, who was a high-ranking bishop of the church, whether by torture or not, I'm not sure, but eventually made the famous declaration of loyalty to the Soviets. And so he said, our sufferings are the Soviet Union's sufferings, the Soviet Union's joys are our joys, etc. So at that point, the Soviet Union gave him a little bit of a break. when the war happened, when World War II occurred, they had massive civil disobedience. A lot of people were not going along with it because they were like, hopefully the Soviet Union gets destroyed. And so they didn't support it. So a lot of what Stalin realized was that he's going to need the support of some kind of church. And so he elevated Metropolitan Sergius to patriarch, a new patriarch, and said basically, you're going to, you can have your church, but it will be under our control, and you will do what we say. And so effectively, the Soviet, that got referred to as the Soviet Church, it was seen that way in Russia, outside Russia, by everyone except the Soviets themselves. And so that's the real division in the Soviet and regions, etc., not just in obviously in Russia, but like Ukraine, in Moldova, etc. That division of true Orthodox versus world Orthodox was not understood in terms of a calendar, but in terms of disloyalty to the Soviet regime.
Well, so, and that's where you mentioned the history of the Soviet side is that they were really, hey, don't be evangelistic, kind of chill out. We're doing a co-op.
That was actually
here.
Soviet in origin.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this the 2000, the Jubilee Bishops' Council of the Russian Orthodox Church.
Oh, I am.
I want to draw your attention to a couple of these points here. And I want to show you something. Yo, chat, pay attention, okay? Pay attention, all right? Because this is where we, meaning us filthy Protestants, and you Catholics too, you guys, you filthy papists, all right, may be included in this beautiful language. So let's hone in. I'm just going to go right to the essentials. 1.16 of this document. The ecclesial status of those who have separated themselves from the church does not lend itself to simple definition. In a divided Christendom, wait, what? So watch this, okay? Okay, watch this. Father Joseph, would you use this language in the true Orthodox Church that moi and maybe some others are in Christendom?
Well, Christendom for us is not a real thing. It's just it's just that's like a made up term that kind of just encompasses everything.
Yeah, it's
like,
not. I mean, there's no salvation tied to it.
A lot of Western Europe considers itself historically part of Christendom, but it's degenerate and overrun by Muslims now. So, like, what does it mean?
Yeah, it's like, well, this is being very generous. But look, we are in Christendom. Yep. There's still certain characteristics which make it one. The Word of God, listen up, Protestants, Catholics, faith in Christ as God and Savior come in the flesh. Okay, sounds like we got a couple of essentials here. And a sincere devotion. Wow, the gate is wide. The ark is broken.
Why don't you read the next sentence?
This one here?
Yeah.
The existence of various rites of reception through baptism, through chrismation, through repentance. It's breaking up really wide. The ark is broken. Shows that the Orthodox Church relates to different non-Orthodox confessions in different ways. The criterion is the degree to which the faith in the order of the church, as well as the norms of Christian spiritual life, are preserved in a particular confession. Wow, there's still hope for us. By establishing various rites of reception, however, the Orthodox Church does not assess the extent to which the grace-filled life has either been preserved intact or distorted in a non-Orthodox confession. In other words, you might be cooked. We don't know how cooked. You might not be cooked at all. We don't know the levels. Considering to be a mystery of God's providence and judgment. But hey, at least we're not like the Muslims officially cooked, everybody. All right, check this out, though, because it builds on the essentials. Look at this. Let's slide down here, 6.3. Pay attention, because we even get a special. You know how these guys go around going, oh, yeah, but what about Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons? You guys are the same thing. Well,
not according to Moscow.
Not according to this. It says the Orthodox Church draws a clear distinction between the non-Orthodox confessions, which declare their faith in the Holy Trinity and divine human nature of Jesus Christ. Wait a minute. We're Trinitarians. We're Trinitarians and we're seen in a different light. This is wild. What is going on here? Well, I'll tell you. I know why.
Ecumenism.
Yeah, it's the ecumenism. The ecumenism. In fact, I was thinking about this the other day. We can make some shirts. Now, I want to say something, Father, because this is where your opinion comes in. Can they put this all under economia? Can
No.
they? Okay. And just explain, because people have been hearing this thing. They even made a little joke where Jay Dyer's getting called up by some cholos, some Mexican, and they're like, economia, Holmes. All right. So they think it's funny. So these guys think it's funny. Okay. So tell us about what economia is and
Sure.
why they can't lump this in there and give us the separators.
Okay. First off, the terms for extreme strictness and extreme looseness, or extreme relaxation, are akrivia and economia. These two things are opposite sides. The bishop, it is his job to determine whether to apply akrivia or economia to a specific situation. Say, for example, what kind of penance to give to a person with a very heavy sin. They could apply akrivia, what the rules say in the book, or economia, and say, okay, maybe we're not going to be so harsh on that.
Okay.
That is really what akrivia and economia mean. When a layperson says economia, they are usually using it wrong, because they're usually using it because one of their priests said economia or their bishop said economia, and it goes all the way up to their bishop. But you can't recognize what is not and turn it into what is. Like, for example, if you want to make the argument, some people try to make the argument that, there's enough of a form in Catholic baptism historically to recognize their baptisms. And they point to Russian usage of the 17th and 18th centuries. But they leave out certain details, like the fact that in 1620, the Russian church actually said that Catholic baptisms were not valid, and that the economia that was used was because of the rise of the Unia. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with Eastern history, but in the 1600s and 1700s, when the Council of Florence failed, the next tactic that the papacy would use was to sign on these unions, which were called unions, with specific dioceses, usually in response to political wars, etc. Sign this union with the Pope. You don't have to change anything, and we won't bother you, but you are going to commemorate the Pope first, so on and so forth. This created unions, which were Eastern Catholic churches. So they behaved like Orthodox churches, but in fact, they were commemorating the Pope, and eventually they became more and more Latin. And so the whole point is that in that context, all these unions coming, the church was like, okay, they were Orthodox, they look like Orthodox, they're still doing the things like Orthodox. Can we use economia in terms of
to let them in
back into Orthodoxy? And that's why you see a lot of that. But if you compare that to the current situation now, where you're using a shot glass of water to throw on someone's forehead, when the literal term of baptism is to immerse, which is our practice, that's insane. And so in the 20th century, many true Orthodox said we're going to take a stricter position. The ROCOR did this in 1971, where they said that the position of the heterodox towards baptism has changed so much, we're going to use baptism universally. And so, but these guys, the Ortho Bros, they'll give you half the story, because that is what their spiritual fathers, the ecumenists, do. And they'll say, well, we recognized heterodox baptisms before, so that just means we recognize them in general. They don't realize that what you're saying is that if Protestants or Roman Catholics have the mysteries, have true sacraments, effectively they are somehow part of the church.
Exactly.
And so you've widened the doorway of what the church is, which is the exact opposite of how the church has historically done it. And actually in the 19th century, how any church had historically done it.
Yep.
So,
no, it makes sense. Thank you. Thanks for breaking that down, that they can't just lump this under that sort of authority. So then let's get to what we conclude from this.
Yep.
As it stands right now. I'd like for you to make a statement about the current Ortho Bro position why it's essentially maybe a contradiction. I don't want to put words in your mouth, how you
Yeah.
see it right now. And then maybe this would be the honest call to say, come to True Orthodox. You can go ahead and make that case now.
I'll do it very simply. I mentioned earlier this elder Porphyrios, who they consider a saint because they declared him a saint like 5 years ago. When it came to ecumenism, all he would talk about was how it made him mad and how angry he was about it and how much he didn't like it. But I think we've talked about enough, Mueller, on the show today in terms of the history, that your job isn't to get mad. Your job
Right.
isn't to get emotional. It's to go to bishops who follow the true faith. And so if you're watching this from my channel, or if you go to my channel at NFTU, any of the probably videos in the past year, and you look in the description, there is a map of true Orthodox churches all over the world, many in America. It is not complete, which means that even if there's not something that you see on the map, you can always call the nearest church and see if there's something there that's in development. There are true Orthodox all over the world in the millions, and we're just preserving the true faith. So instead of getting mad and getting emotional and acting like a giant child, just do what the canons say and just go to true Orthodox bishops.
But if they don't go to True Orthodox bishops, then they're in this paradox. They're in this.
They're hypocrites.
They're they're two-faced. I didn't want to say it. You said it. Okay.
No, I'll say it because it's the truth.
I agree.
If you're claiming to be against ecumenism while under ecumenist bishops, you're a hypocrite. That shouldn't be offensive to you. That's the truth.
And then if I were to ask them, why are you still here? Why you have that opinion? I would ask, well, what justifies this? In other words, how do you know? So the case that you've built is you say, like them, and I've heard this language, is for the first 1,000 years of the church, it was clear that they didn't contemplate any of this type of language. It wasn't ecumenist at all. It was very strict. That would be the case you would make historically if we had to go back and you would look at the different quotes from the fathers and then the councils. How would you put that case together to show that, hey, since the beginning it wasn't like this?
Yeah, I would say for the first 1900 years, this is only about 100-year-old heresy, and we've had heresies that lasted longer. So we just keep on building. I find it interesting that somebody said true Orthodoxy is the Protestantism of the East. Actually, that's one way I do get along with Protestants, because I would say that World Orthodoxy is the papism of the East because of the fact that they are believers in an institution as opposed to a body of Christ. So I believe that the Christian conscience is important. And if you're just going to defer it to your chosen oracle in Rome or Constantinople, you're not using your brain at all.
Well,
and that's not how God wants us to.
Listen. This is truth. You cannot suspend your mind. You must obey your conscience. I don't know what these guys do. I don't know why, but you said it best. Hypocrisy at its finest. And I don't know how to phrase it any other way. All right. So, Father, with your permission, do you want me to go ahead and drop the link here and see if we get any people to pull up? All right, let's do it.
I have a feeling we're going to get not many people.
Yeah, I would,
a lot
I
of
would
people
imagine
talk
so.
big games in the chat, but I've been doing my Sunday show for ages, and there's always lots more talkers than there are. Lots more typists than talkers.
Yeah, I would happen to agree with you. So, what is this? Man, we got an archbishop that what? He's a felon because he registered what?
Archbishop Andre of New Jersey under the ROAC. This is actually correct. That is the charge that was against him. They did throw it out because I think he paid a fine. But yeah, he was trying to get. I'm sorry, Vladika. I'm gonna have to just say it, but I did report on it. Basically, he wanted to save money on his insurance, and I think he had a priest.
Hey, he should have went to Geico. Save money on car insurance.
I know, but I guess maybe he heard from his priest in like some state like Delaware or something. He's like, "What? Your insurance is super cheap. Can I register at your house?" And he probably didn't know that was a felony.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's not. I've known other people who did it, not in the clergy, but the point is, it's not.
I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. It doesn't.
It's not like
we're all trying to save money on our car. We're in Trumpflation right now. Come on, man, Trumpflation. I got no problem with that. I mean, let's just let's economia that joint. Let's do this. All right, hold up, brother. We have Father. We have Mac Dan, who was earlier wanting the link, so here he is. All right, Mac, what's going on?
Hello, everybody. I have a
Hi.
fan next to me. I hope I'm not coming through like a wind tunnel.
It's kind of windy, but it's all good. We can hear you. Go
Yeah, we
ahead.
can
You wanted
hear
to
you.
fire off a question to Father Joseph. Go ahead.
I'll turn it off. Well, first off, I just want to say hi.
Hello, brother.
So, for me, true orthodoxy completely falls apart as soon as you start pulling on the threads. For example, you have no valid ordinations at all.
How do you figure?
Well, with the Matthewites and the Floronites, when the bishops who actually had apostolic succession broke away, they refused to ordinate any new bishop.
Ordain.
Or sorry, thank you. I appreciate for correcting my word. They refused to ordain any new bishops, and so then they died off, and then there wasn't enough because
Right.
even within those groups, they couldn't even get along themselves. There was a
Can I
let
like
him
to-
interject with the point because you're saying is no. Go ahead.
What you're saying is a narrative, but just to point out, first off, the Matthewites actually, because they Archbishop Chrysostomus refused to make new bishops, went ahead and did them one episcopal consecration single-handedly, and then they had 2 bishops to do the rest, and they made 12 bishops. So that's the first group. Among the Floronites, they got help from 2 Rocor bishops who, as the chat noted, were Romanian, and one of them, I believe, used a new calendar, but they were still in the Rocor Synod, and they were using the new calendar as an economy, etc. But we believe the Rocor bishops had real apostolic succession. Just throwing that in.
Yeah, not a problem. So that part is correct. The single-handed of the Matthewites is invalid, and
I didn't say it was invalid. I said it was uncanonical, but it was fixed in 1971.
Yeah, but if it's the fruit of the poison tree, if Matthew didn't have the proper authority to even do that, he went and did it himself. Everything that follows,
not necessarily. We're talking about a specific situation with a technicality. Canonically, have there been bishops who single-handedly consecrated? Yes. So what he was doing was it wasn't problematic because he did a single-handed consecration. It was problematic because he did a single consecration without another synod's blessing. For example, Saint Sava, when he consecrated the first hierarchs in Serbia, he was alone, and he asked for permission from Constantinople to single-handedly consecrate people. So the problem is not the act of single-handed consecration. The problem is the lack of a blessing, which they corrected in 1971.
Oh yeah, no. I personally, because as a Catholic papist, as you like to call us,
to be fair, I was a former papist, so don't feel too bad.
So I'm okay with that because the Pope has the authority to do single, but he's the only one. Everybody else,
why?
You have to have 3.
Wait, why? No. Why? That's an interesting point because that is in Roman canon law that you need 2 or 3 bishops, which is what the original canons say. Where did the Pope suddenly get the authority to single-handedly consecrate?
Because he is the vicar of Christ. He is the
apostle. It's assumed.
Wait, so where did he get that power? When did it happen? Because in the first 10 centuries of Christianity, the Roman Pope never tried a single-handed consecration. When did that begin?
Not a problem. So I want to focus on your stance.
No, you introduced yourself to me, so I got questions for you now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But we're talking about the validity of the true Orthodox. And the canons say that the only way you can do a single-handed ordination is if you are in an area where you are being persecuted and it's impossible for other bishops to show up to do it.
I have a fun question for you. Do you know where St. Matthew was? Because, many Matthewites call him a saint, and I think that many people believe he's a saint, including myself. Do you know where St. Matthew was when he started doing the talk about the single-handed consecration? Do you know where he was? He was in jail.
I was going to say, under persecution?
He was in jail, along with the other true Orthodox bishops. So, to say, you just literally gave the justification that he had to do it.
Was he the only one that was in jail?
No, they were all in jail.
No, exactly. So it's not a persecution against him.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold up, Matt. So you're
Yeah.
telling me there's like a number ratio for persecution? This is
Yeah,
news to me.
what's the level here?
Yeah, I don't
So,
understand
and
it.
with the road corps, that for the other people that you claim, those war corps did it in secret. They didn't have the blessing of their leaders to go and do that. They went and did it in secret, which
They did, but it was still an
isn't
open
allowed.
secret, and they fixed it in 1969. And the Roe Corps Synod, as a whole, all those bishops who supposedly didn't approve it, approved it in 1969.
And you
But real
think,
quick,
and at the
Mac,
time,
just so we're clear, you're Catholic because they're asking. You're a Catholic?
oh yeah, I'm Catholic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then I'm just curious. Do you
Mhm.
believe that, like Father J, or the true Orthodox? Do you
Mhm.
believe that they're in Christendom?
Yeah, I believe they're Christians. They believe in Christ. They
Do we
They-
have valid orders?
no.
Why?
That's what I'm going through.
Okay.
You don't. You
So
broke.
then, are they hellbound?
Are they hellbound?
Mm-hmm.
That's not my place. That'd be for God on Judgment Day to make
All
that
right,
call.
brother. Are Muslims hellbound if they reject Christ?
Sorry.
Are Satanists hellbound if they reject Christ?
If they do it knowingly, if they
All right.
have ignorance,
So
where they
true
don't
Orthodox
understand,
right now, knowingly being true Orthodox,
Mhm.
are they hellbound?
they're not rejecting Christ.
All right, amen. So then you're a V2 Catholic then.
Yeah,
All
Yeah.
right, amen. All right,
because
fair
a
enough.
V1 Catholic would say we're all in hell.
Yeah, you're all going to hell. Everybody's going to hell. Okay, real quick, Mac. So then continue right where you're at. So you've shown that your opinion from your side is it wasn't valid. But hone in to give me the home run case here, because then we're gonna lose people. This is all nerd talk to us. Go ahead.
It's important nerd talk because
Well, I know,
again,
but
if
make
they
it
don't
simple.
have it, then everything that follows is just fluff. The roll corps didn't have the permission. They did it in secret, and those people at that time thought the roll corps were heretical because they called them ecumenists. So you accepted the ordination of bishops that you deemed to be heretical and from a heretical faction. Like, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, what heretical faction are you talking about?
The roll corps or the
Roe
rock
Corps, we did not view the Roe Corps as a heretical faction.
Yeah, did
Nobody
they
ever
believe
said that.
something that made them heretical?
Yeah,
No.
the ecumenism. They were
The
not
Roe Corps
in
was
it.
never
deemed them-
pro-ecumenism.
They were not in communion at the time. They didn't agree. They were separated, and yet to make it look official.
Officially?
Yes, officially.
Officially, wait? You're saying the Roe Corps was officially ecumenist? Because you're going to find a lot of historical opposition among almost everyone in Roe Corps except for Moscow Patriarchate flunkies.
Mm-hmm. So they didn't have that, and you even brought up yourself when you were showing your evidence there, and it says you to separate yourself, you have to have a valid reason to separate yourself.
Yeah, ecumenism is a valid reason. It's heresy.
Oh no, you may claim that. What church synod, what council has determined that ecumenism?
Besides the 1983 Council of Roe Corps, which officially declared ecumenism a heresy with an anathema, there were various true Orthodox attempts to clarify that those holding to the new calendar were also under anathema. You find that in Greece. You find that in Russia. The idea that we just made up the term ecumenism is risible. To say the least.
I'm not saying you made up the term ecumenism.
But you're kind of implying it.
I'm saying that calling it a heresy is made up.
It's an anathematized heresy.
There's no council that has officially determined that ecumenism is a heresy. So
there's no ecumenical council that has determined that.
Not a single one.
There's no ecumenical council for that. That is correct. There is also no ecumenical council which condemned the papacy. That was the Council of Blockernai in 1285. That doesn't mean we believe in the papacy. It's heretical. Not everything that is heretical is automatically a council. Reader John, welcome.
Christ is risen.
You know Reader John?
He's my co-host on Sundays.
Okay. I saw him. All right. Hey, Reader John, how are you? All right. So Mac, you're presenting a case here. So far, Father Joseph, or I don't know if Reader John, you want to chime in on what Mac is saying. As a Catholic, he's really honing in on some of these claims.
Sounds like he doesn't know Roe Corps history at all.
Oh, all right.
What did I say that was incorrect?
Yeah, go for
A
it.
lot.
They were never ecumenist. Not in their documents or anything. You can actually go through their archives. They're online.
So this
So,
is
what,
a
so why did
recent
why did those two
position.
bishops have to do it in secret then?
Because of the fact that they didn't have permission but wanted to move as quickly as
Yeah,
possible. And that's why they reported it to the
And if
Senate.
you look at the meeting minutes afterwards, when they had a council of bishops, they were actually censured for a time, but it was kind of more like a slap on the wrist because, I mean, they weren't
You're not
totally
supposed to do it.
against.
It wasn't valid. Yeah.
It
So the
wasn't
only
an
way-
issue of
Well,
validity. It
we
was an
don't-
issue of
we don't-
discipline.
We don't use that kind of language. That's Roman Catholic.
Well, I'm
language.
sure you don't.
But we
Yeah,
don't
you
because
did.
we
because
don't
we're now
believe
Roman
in that.
Catholic.
No, you guys use the term whether you have valid.
World Orthodox
sacraments or
might. We
not.
don't. No.
You know, we
Sorry,
generally don't. And when we say invalid, we mean like it is beyond the pale of anything possibly recognizable, not that it is technically invalid.
Yeah, we don't use the as a legal term. We're not
Okay,
Thomas.
so just help me understand this, gentlemen. So then the language that we saw like on that Russian document, that's coming from sort of Moscow. They kind of run the whole
That's the
church
Moscow
now,
Patriarchate, yeah.
and they're the ones that run all of the Russian church now. I mean, are they
Well, the
pretty much-
Moscow Patriarchate, we would say like the True Orthodox, the Free Russians, etc., ROAC, etc., the ROKOR factions that were not part of the Union, and they number very highly in the millions, as I've said, together. Even though Moscow itself has tried to take down their churches, confiscate their churches, I myself personally was when I was in Russia for a year and a half, I would visit a church in Suzdal that was under the ROAC. Since then, that was literally 20 years ago. 10 years later, the Russian state literally took the building, padlocked everyone out of it, and then eventually turned it into like a tourist area so people could pay a fee to look inside this church. And when I was there, it was a big church that had hundreds of people going. Really tragic, but that's how cold and awful the Kremlin is towards True Orthodox.
So then, just so I understand, as a speak, Mac, you can chime in on this. Hallow, if you want, go ahead and pull up to the Truth Cartel Discord, and we can chat about it. Do you see that up top, running across the top? Then I'm going to ask these gentlemen a question here. Okay, so then, Reader John, Mac, if you could chime in on this. So you believe that right now the mainline Ortho Bros, whether they're Greek or Russian, they're essentially in a contradiction or sort of being two-faced, as Father Joseph put, because essentially they're in a church that is
Welcome,
going
Father
against what
Boniface.
yeah, there he is. That's the other
Now
Father
it's my
outside.
Sunday crew.
Yeah. Okay. So would you classify this as the same thing? Maybe Mac chime in on this. Technically, these guys are being inconsistent because they're going along with the church, or maybe chime in on that.
Would you like to know why they're inconsistent?
Yes, please give it to me straight.
Okay, so back in the 2010s, when the Ortho Bro started to emerge, it was actually a derogatory term to call them an Ortho Bro. Because, back in the day, like in the early YouTube days when everybody was earning money on those videos, you would just hear, okay, bro, let's go, bro.
Yeah, bro.
So, and they just, they might have like two brain cells together if you rub them real close together. And so it was a derogatory term because these guys were poorly catechized. And like, was it 12 years later, 10, 12, 13 years later, it still shows they're still poorly catechized. I mean, Jay Dyer's the poster child. And the reason why he lashes out is because he doesn't know how to carry on a good argument. He always defaults to Roman Catholic arguments, like Mac over there.
Okay. All right.
Everything I said so far has been 100% accurate and historically
No, it's
accurate.
actually been
In your own little
wrong.
world, yes.
You were wrong on the persecution issue. You were wrong.
I wasn't wrong. Just because
You
he's
were
in
wrong
jail.
about Bishop Matthew. Yeah, he was in
He
jail.
even went. Okay, was he in jail his whole life?
You admitted.
Was he in jail his whole life?
You admitted a minute beforehand
Yeah.
that the only reason that would be allowed was persecution.
I mean, you did say that.
What I said was persecution, and if that they couldn't get any other bishops together.
He was in jail.
Okay, he wasn't in jail his whole life. And that's proven because
The state
Wait a
church
minute,
was
now
right.
there's a timeline?
he
I'm
tried to
confused.
go and reunite with the other guys, and their names are so
You don't
crazy,
even know the
I
history,
can't
bro.
remember.
Come on, you're just throwing it out. Come
He
on.
actually, on his deathbed, refused to even acknowledge his presence. Nobody wanted to
That's
deal
not
with this
actually
Bishop
true.
Matthew
That's
guy.
not accurate.
Yeah,
It
that's
is
not
true.
accurate at all.
Okay.
So even
All right.
even if you guys want to pretend that what I'm saying, which is historically
We're not
accurate,
pretend- we're
is
not
We
pretending.
don't have to
It's false.
pretend. You just don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I got it.
And I realize
The-
that you have to defend World Orthodoxy because as a
Uh,
Roman Catholic, they're your sister church. But you're not telling the truth.
So Mac, real quick, were you former
Yeah.
Orthodox?
No.
Okay, so you
What's your
as far
dog
as
in the
I'm-
fight?
as far as I'm-
What's
as
your
far as
dog
I'm
in the
concerned-
fight, bro?
It's
Orthodox.
your ecumenical brothers.
As far as
That's
I'm
it.
concerned, Orthodox at the moment are just Protestants.
So why
Right.
do you care?
ouch.
Why do I care?
Ouch.
Because there's lies being told, and I want people to understand.
Then
What
why
is
would you
being
draw
said?
into your heresy of papism?
Gotcha. I know you want to shift it to me. We're focusing on
No.
what you
We
guys are saying.
definitely want to shift it to you. Because
So,
of the fact that as a papist,
we-
Yeah, because
already-
you're
we
trying to
already
you're
said
trying to
that.
tell you're
Not
trying to
a
tell us what
single
World Orthodox
council-
stand.
Not a
and you're
single
trying to tell
council has
you're trying to tell
determined
us our
that
own
ecumenism
history.
is
All right.
heresy. So that means you guys separated from the church without a valid reason.
You're
Which
just
right then
talking
and there.
garbage. There was
Wait, hold up.
council.
Wait,
But
wait.
does this
And-
case, hold on one second here, Reader John, and I'll let you cook here. Okay.
Okay.
So does
All right.
this all come down to the claim in the canon that you showed me that they're saying is, hey, if somebody's in heresy, you got to leave the church and find another bishop. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So then if these guys, let's say the Ortho Bros of this world that they're in, they don't do that. What are they, Reader John? Because I wanted you to finish that thought. What are
They're a cult. Let's be honest.
Okay, so because they're not obeying their conscience and canon law or the law that says, "Hey, you're complaining that they're ecumenist and you're just chilling there, not doing anything."
Well, yeah, they're what we call resist from within, and
Okay.
but they're
Kvetch
Three-
from within.
yeah, or quit, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it
Wait,
depends
what
on
was
your
that
background.
term that you used?
K-
Sergeant?
k-
Kvetching from within.
Okay,
I'm so mad.
yeah, like just like
But
they're like those little kids when you used to grow up. They would like shake because they're so upset. That's what the Ortho Bros are doing in the church. They're literally like hyperventilating, but they don't.
pretty
do
much, but that's never been resisting from within has never been a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Canon 15 for a reason.
There's an entire book by Subdeacon Victorius called The History of Resistance, which goes through the 2,000 years of fighting against heretical hierarchies. But I do find it amazingly ironic that the only person who came out to defend the Ortho Bros is a Roman Catholic.
I'm not gonna lie, Mac. You a G for that, but Mac, you are.
Depends what the
you
G
are-
stands for.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, Mac, but you are maybe a little. You're being a little loose with history or you're revisionist.
Why,
what they're gonna
why
say.
are you assuming that they're correct? You're
No,
just
hold on.
automatically.
You didn't let me finish my statement.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, I apologize.
I'm saying is you're being a little loose with history because they want you to tighten up. So get me to your top 3 claims that you said they didn't go through the proper, they weren't, according to you, persecution is in doubt. Secondly, because give me the second reason. You said persecution in doubt, which means the validity of them moving away or making the move, you can't do it, you can't justify it because persecution is in doubt. What's another couple claims that you just say, hey, this church can't be true? What's the other 2 so that we can hone in?
So all their ordinations are just invalid. They don't have any apostolic continuity. That got separated when the first bishops who did separate, and they had legitimate apostolic. They could have continued apostolic tradition. Every single one of those bishops who initiated the true Orthodox separation, every one of them refused to ordain any new bishops because they specifically didn't want the apostolic succession to continue. So the people who separated stopped.
Matt,
And then-
let me help you for a
Well,
second.
let him just finish
Well,
his
I
claims,
just-
Father.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
So I think that's all he was saying.
So then they try to claim that separating for heresy, except not a single council has determined that ecumenism is a heresy. None have come out and said that. So that means they separated without any valid reason to actually separate themselves from it.
So then, what about
They-
this claim on canon law? And then I'll let Father Joseph deal with what you just said. So, what do you say about that,
Yeah.
Mac? If there actually there's actually rules saying you're saying is it defaults because they broke it because they weren't really under persecution, or can they follow that law in your book? That's not even a valid that they should be following those things that have been set up. What would you
No,
say?
the
Was it 150?
I apologize. I cut you off again. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, those canons, you should follow canons. They're there for a reason. But that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. They're not following the canons. They want to use the canons when it works in their favor. And then they use, I think the term you use, economia. They make it look nice and pretty to try to say, oh, we could do it in this situation for this here because, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. They don't have a valid reason. So even when you read that, it says you have to, by a holy synod, you have to do it. It doesn't say that. And earlier he even brought up the Council of Crete. The Council of Crete isn't a universal binding thing.
Don't tell the
Russia didn't
Patriarch of
show up.
Constantinople that.
Antioch didn't show up.
Well,
Bulgaria
he's a
didn't
Roman
show up.
Catholic, so he doesn't care.
Yeah, that's going to be binding on him one
All
day.
right. So
And there was
Mac,
another one.
okay, so we let that go. You want to address some of those points, Father Joseph? Or
Yeah, sure. First off, you said that none of the true Orthodox bothered to make any other bishops. Who made Bishop Matthew? Mac Dan, you there?
No, so I thought you were going to keep going. I put myself on
No,
mute. So I didn't want to interrupt you.
I have other questions, but let's start with that one. You said that
Yeah.
the true Orthodox bishops didn't make any other bishops. So who made Bishop Matthew?
If that was my wording, I apologize. What I said
That was exactly your wording over and
Yeah, I
over
heard
and
that
over.
too.
they didn't make enough bishops
Who
to
made
allow.
Bishop Matthew?
Oh, I don't know what is. Again, I told you. I said that earlier.
The
The
true
names are
Orthodox
so.
bishops that separated made 4 other bishops,
Yeah.
including Bishop Matthew. So
Yeah.
that's false. Here's the second thing. I'm going to put this in the private chat to share it because you said, who actually condemned ecumenism and where would it be in the canons? Fun fact, there are numerous canons that condemn what we call ecumenism already. I've just linked to it. If you want to go to it, Muller, we can put it on the screen.
Yeah, if you want, I
yeah.
have no issue with that.
I'm
But
gonna
just to
read it.
make
I'm
sure
gonna
that
go
I'm
through 'em.
understanding this, Father
Mhm.
Joseph, because he's saying is that's not good enough because in the canon it's saying that there has to be. What did you point out, Mac? It has to be what, a synod or what was
Yeah,
it?
it has to be an official church declaration that this is a heresy, like Donatism, which is also what the true Orthodox are, because they don't think baptisms are
what?
valid.
So we had to wait till
He's just saying whatever.
that's a load of
whatever the
crap, to
orthopros
be
say.
honest.
That's garbage, dude.
You
Go ahead.
were just
I'm-
saying that the shot glass pouring over the head doesn't count. You were literally just
Oh,
saying
you're
that.
mad because I went after your
That's
plan.
actually, I
No.
mean, a shot glass being poured over the head could be used in extreme
in
circumstances.
an emergency, not in a cathedral.
Well, so let me ask you a question. So then these guys would disagree. So the Ortho Bros would also agree with you in this way, is they would say, yeah, that's not a valid baptism either, the shot glass. They would say
But
that
they
as
have
well?
to accept it because their bishops do.
Oh, got him. All right. So Mac, I want to pull up if you want. Did you put that in the private chat?
Yeah, it's the last,
All right,
last link.
Let's go ahead and get this last link up here. And then what I want to do, because Mac seems to be a little educated, and I say a little because I'm not believing the other side. All you guys are suspect, okay? No, I'm joking. But my point is, I don't know this stuff. So you're teaching me, Mac, as much as the guys here and your point of view. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get to. Give me 1 second. Let me zone in here. Where do you want me to go here?
Well, we can just look at the first ones. These are the canons of the Holy Apostles, which
Okay.
are canons that are believed to have gone back to the apostles. The earliest copies we have are like 200 to 300 AD in the Apostolic Constitutions. But they're pretty basic. Let any bishop or presbyter or deacon that merely joins in prayer with heretics be suspended, but if he had permitted them to perform any service as clergymen, let him be deposed. So that's over 1,000 years old, over 1,500 years old. I already showed the picture with your Pope, Mac, and the World Orthodox Patriarchs and the whatever the Eastern religions were. And now I can do that with Canon 15 of the Holy Apostles, which does the same thing, entering a synagogue of Jews or heretics to be deposed or excommunicated. That interpretation by St. Nicodemus is the canonical clarification on that. Canon, we got there, Canon 46 of the Holy Apostles. about accepting heretics' baptism or sacrifice for what Constantine has quite Belial. You mentioned Donatism because you're defending the World Orthodox Ortho Bros with their stupid argument, but Donatism was about personal sin, not about heresy.
Yep.
And
wait a minute. What was the personal sin on the Donatists again?
The Donatists basically believe that, because what happened was it was during the period of the Traditori, which meant the people who gave up the copies of the scriptures to the Roman authorities to be burned. And so these canons in Laodicea were to deal with them that came back. They were like, we repent. We're very sorry for destroying the Holy Scripture, so on and so forth. We should have done that. Some of them might have eaten pagan sacrifices, but they were repenting. And so the Donatists formed a party that they said, no, that's not good enough. And so you can't be clergy anymore. And the Orthodox were like, you can.
So they went to the extreme.
Right. And so he's trying to argue that we are Donatists because his World Orthodox friends argue that we are Donatists. And none of them know what Donatism apparently is.
And you know what would create a problem for the Ortho Bros is that Canon 15 that says we need to leave false bishops that are preaching bareheaded. What does it say about those people who remain with them, Father? Nobody ever reads the rest of the canon. About them being complicit.
Yeah. Wait, which canon are we talking about? You lost me here.
Donatism was a 4th century schism.
Yeah, I covered that. What? What? I didn't hear what Mac Dan said.
Go ahead, Mac.
I was saying that Donatism was a 4th century heresy.
We know.
And Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you. You're just restating things that are margin. We know when it was.
Yeah, but it's for everybody else. I get you guys probably know it's for everybody else who is witnessing this go down.
I get it.
They argue the validity of the sacraments and the spiritual authority of clergy, depending entirely on their personal moral purity and sinlessness.
Thank you.
So
that has nothing to do with what we did.
Yeah, actually, the Roman Catholics would be more.
You think that
Roman Catholics would be more Donatist if you read their early canons about when they instituted celibacy.
That's true, and they did it by enslaving
the
priests. Yeah.
Real quick, Reader John, you sound so familiar. Have we spoken before?
I don't think so.
You sound really familiar. You might sound like somebody else. Like
I used to be on X a lot.
Somebody famous, maybe. You sound like
everything that they have listed in this article, right? I would agree with. Those are things you shouldn't do. Don't join in prayers with other people, right? That's not ecumenism.
Not a moral question.
That's not ecumenism.
That is ecumenism.
No, it isn't.
Literally what it is in practice.
It's actually the Apostolic Constitution, sir.
So
you don't join in prayer with heretics.
And that goes to what year exactly?
The apostles.
But you meant when it was written down in that document, you said what, like 3rd, 4th century?
No, I said the earliest copies we have are in the 2nd and 3rd century.
Yeah, that's the earliest copies we have remaining. But there were, so we have bits and fragments. Yeah.
Tradition teaches that those are canons written by the apostles in their canons.
Okay, so then let me see here.
Ecumenism is seeking the unity, cooperation, and better relationships among the different, the different Christian denominations.
I forgot to ask.
Yeah, but you guys didn't even.
Wait. Reader
That's what ecumenism is.
This is a very important question.
Go ahead,
Mac Dan, do you favor ecumenism?
Yeah, I think it's in the Bible.
He's a V2 guy. We already established this.
Okay, well, I just want to make absolutely clear so people understand that
he wants to open the windows of the church.
Yeah, his underlying position is adjournamento. So there you go.
Yeah,
okay.
I think the example is given to us by Paul in the Bible when he went to the Greeks and he said, "Look, you guys are a very religious people, right? Look, you guys have all these altars, and here you have the altar of the unknown."
That wasn't a Jews.
And then
that was the Athenians.
I like how you're trying to support it.
And then what does he do? He compliments them, says they're very religious, they're nice people, and then he tells them what the truth is. And that's what ecumenism is. That's what the Catholic Church is for. We're here to bring everybody in.
No.
Say, look,
that's what Vatican II. That's what Vatican II Roman Catholics are for. The Vatican I and before
Vatican II Vatican I only stopped because of the war. Vatican II is a
Yeah,
continuation
but
of Vatican I.
there was no
It didn't.
ecumenism in
Okay,
Vatican.
there is okay. Most Roman Catholics are honest enough to admit that Vatican II was a massive change over Vatican I, so I'm not even going to change that. Jay, who is this Jay Livingstone?
Yeah, I was
wanna
going
hear
to
from
say,
him.
Jay, you unmuted. What do you believe? And do
Yeah,
you want to
sure.
ask a
So
question?
I go by JTV forever. You've
Oh,
seen me.
okay. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
JTV. Did you have a
yeah.
question here for
Forever.
the
I did want to briefly ask McDan about a couple of things. So the 1927 oath of loyalty that Sergius signed, what is your take on that? You trying to say that he's like, what is your point there? Because as far from my perspective, okay, he was forced to sign it. And if somebody is forced to sign something under duress, I don't consider that to be valid. And I don't think even in any sort of court of law, you could even say that it's valid. So, and to second point, really serious thing here, you're saying that, oh, the catacomb church is not legit or whatever. So all the people, including the Catholic priest, I think his name, let me find his name real quick. I had it up here. Alexander Hira. He baptized a lot of different people in secret, and he actually assisted. He did help a lot with the Orthodox priest baptizing people in the concentration camp. Are we to believe that all of those baptisms were invalid and that all those guys are in hell? I mean, I don't want to believe that. I would prefer not to believe that. I think, from my position, the catacomb church didn't have much of a choice but to go underground. And you coming up here and saying, well, they're not valid because,
He disregards
he was
persecution.
arrested.
yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, McDaniel.
All right, Mac, you want to reply to that?
Sure. A lay person can baptize as long as it's done in the proper form of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Anybody can baptize, right? Again, I don't hold the true Orthodox position. I think the baptisms would be valid as long as it's done in the proper form.
Well, okay. Well, wait a second, McDan. From what I understood, I don't have the quote off the top of my head. I do remember that Saint Tikhon did say, if you're going to be a part of the leadership, you have to get baptized and be baptized by the person with the authority. And you have to get catechized by the people that are in leadership at the Orthodox Church. And he even had this position when he went to America. So
because that's Orthodox ecclesiology. That makes sense.
That's what I'm saying here. And it surprises me, McDan. I mean, granted, okay, you're Vatican II, Vatican I. This all happened under Vatican I. Mm-hmm. So, you're in a bigger pickle now because the rules are Vatican I, and all this stuff is up in the air. And I would agree with Father Suidan. They under duress. They had no choice. They had to organize. They had to do all this. And
now Father Reader John, Father Joseph, or
Boniface,
Father Boniface, if you want to chime in here at any point, but would you agree so far with Jay's assessment that that's the proper view of what that situation was?
I agree mostly, but I just have one minor quibble. And that is that while Sergius was somewhat under duress with the signing of the 1927 document, he was also he became very zealous for it later, to the point where he got visited by the catacomb community of Moscow at one point. This is in Is the Grace of God Present in the Soviet Church? And the author was a part of a party of catacombists that visited him. And when they started talking about the persecution that was going on in other areas, he looked at them and said, "What persecution's here?" So by then he had already abandoned the concept that there were people being persecuted at all, and that the people who were being persecuted deserved it.
That's when it becomes problematic.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can't make hard circumstances normative.
But
Like they say, hard cases make bad law. However, they were extreme circumstances, and they did not become the norm if you realize that they were corrected later. But at the time, the circumstances were necessary to continue the church. And so
Yeah.
later, they did have correctives. But you cannot just say, well, anybody can baptize. That's not true. There are extreme circumstances that they give some allowances to, but they do not become the norm.
Oh,
So,
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
Mark.
think
go
Jay
ahead, Jay.
agrees
Go ahead,
with you.
Jay.
Oh,
Real quick.
I'll just real quick. I've got to throw this in here because this is in the writings of Joseph of Petrograd. Joseph of Petrograd
My
did
name's
not.
Jay.
Saint
He
Joseph.
did not want to break away, but he had no choice because of the extenuating circumstance. And he says this, I think it's in his biography or testimony of the witness of the church in the Soviet Union or something like that. He says that.
Yeah.
It's not like he wanted to do it. It's not like he just, oh yeah, it'd be really great if I just split off, because you're in schism, and that's a big deal.
So-
And he didn't want that.
Well,
Saint
so
Joseph
you
is a
keep in mind,
confessor.
Saint Joseph is a confessor, my namesake, by the way, and I agree with you. And I would say that many true Orthodox even now like this situation, but I'm stating how things are honestly because I have to. And so, of course, when I've been called everything from schismatic, etc., for the better part of 25 years by a lot of people repeatedly over and over. I've had people tell me they don't recognize me. I don't care what MacDan says, but I've had people who call themselves Orthodox tell me I'm not a priest, address me by my first name for 20-something years. So the point is, no, none of us want to be in that position. But at the same time, we also want to stay in the truth, just like Saint Joseph.
Father Joseph, even the
Yeah, go ahead,
ROCOR,
Reader. Go ahead.
even the ROCOR MP recognizes Saint Joseph. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So two things real
who in the
quick.
Orthodox?
Jay, Max, sorry, I'm gonna let you go here. Jay, so real
Yeah.
quick, and then we gotta kind of start
Yeah.
to wrap up. Jay, so what's your position? Are you true Orthodox? Are you Orthodox? Or you
No,
just
my position, I'm actually Protestant, and the
Okay.
reason this is a stickler for me is because
Yeah, why?
I lived over there.
Oh, okay. You're for that part of the world.
I was born here in stateside, and I lived there. I went there in a little city in Central Asia, and I lived in that community. They had Protestants and Baptists and Orthodox, but I didn't realize until later this catacomb church history and everything else. I found that out maybe I don't know, 10 years ago.
I'll tell you a funny story because I lived in St. Petersburg. I don't know where you lived in Russia, but well, first I'll skip the one story about the missionary guy I met in the embassy. But there was one case where I had been talking to Russian Protestants who had been there for throughout the I would say since the war, since World War II, because a lot of Protestants at the time also had to go underground. And so if you talk to Russian Protestants in Russia, they will flat out tell you, yeah, we had to hide because the Soviets would try to come after us and just turn us. And it was funny because they'd ask, and what are you? And I'd say, I'm Orthodox. And they're like, you're part of the Moscow Patriarch. And I said, no, I'm part of the Catacomb Church. And they're like, there's a Catacomb Church? So even over there, they didn't know.
Father, do you remember which American denomination was supporting the Bolsheviks?
I don't.
There's a book. It's called The Baptists and the Bolsheviks.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You filthy Baptist.
Woodrow Wilson was called the American Bolshevik, and he was a Presbyterian.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Wow.
That's crazy. All right, so then, gentlemen, let me. I saw this one right here. I don't know what are we to take here. If somebody says Mexican, the Vatican one is Mexican now.
How dare you, Timothy.
All right. The other fun fact. All right, everybody look this up. Reader John, I figured out who you sound like. Reader John sounds like, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. This is just a fact. Reader John sounds like the crazy weirdo heretic Todd White. You know, the guy that prays for people and supposedly makes
I
their
don't
leg
even know
grow?
who that is.
Bro,
to
you
give me.
gotta look him up. You sound exactly like him.
Can we do it live right now?
I was
see.
gonna try to pick up one of his preachings, but anyways, he's fallen off big time. Like he was getting people to like believe his stuff, but a lot of people exposed him. So he was the guy going around
That is
pretending to
definitely
grow
not me.
people's leg. Yeah, no, I know it's not you, but I'm just saying you sound.
I'm kind of
exactly
crazy
like
though.
him.
So,
Yeah, everything same cadence, same. I don't know. I don't know what part of the state you're from. Maybe that's what it is. But
I'm south.
okay, well, you guys sound exactly. I can't even tell you apart. That's why I was like.
Somebody made a Seth Rogen reference, and I wanted to cry because I see that. too
Oh,
often.
wait a minute. Is that because that's you? Is that
Oh
your-
yeah, get him to laugh. He sounds exactly
Yeah,
like
you
Seth.
know what, Father Straight? I just noticed that you do. The laugh, the hold. It's all right.
Now I
It's,
wish I hadn't said anything.
Yeah, nah, but I mean, I think we all picked it up. But he sounds exactly like Todd White. It's kind of crazy, and that's
Yeah,
all right.
if
We
you
got,
can
we
find
got-
like some Todd White, yeah.
yeah. I'm looking at it right now. I just don't know how.
Oh, it's a
you got Reader
Macintosh
John. Just listen to it, and then
Macintosh Pro says The Way Church, Todd White, April 26th. Check this one.
yeah, okay. So if you do that, anyways, we could probably play it, but we'll leave that laugh out there. All right. So real quick. So I want to do this to wrap because I appreciate you folks being here. And this has been a learning lesson. It just tells me I got a lot to learn about this history, the history of the church. So, Mac, let me just ask you this being from your position. Do you agree with the gentleman here that if Ortho Bros are part of the current church, which he would call the sister church to yours in the ecumenist movement, do you agree that they're in a contradiction, being two-faced? They are essentially being hypocrites because they're complaining about this ecumenist movement, but they're also at the same time just camping and chilling and pretending they're outraged.
Yeah, the only ones who could technically be called a hypocrite is anybody who's part of the roll call church, because they're the only ones in the recent years that have actually come out and said something about ecumenism. But that's not binding to anybody except for those who are in the roll call church. Like it literally has no authority throughout. See, that's the thing. That's why I point out, like, Orthodoxy likes to put on, oh, we're one united church, except, well, what you believe depends on what jurisdiction you're in. If you're Rorqual, then you're obligated to follow what they've signed on to. And then if you're Greek, sorry, go ahead.
I hate to help you out, bro, but go read the Act of Canonical Communion.
Wait a minute. So you're saying so Jay Dyer's a part of the Rocor Church, right? Is that
Now
correct?
he is, I think so, yeah. And the Rocor MP.
But they don't read the Act of Canonical Communion because
what does that mean? What does that document? Can
the
somebody...
2007 Act of Canonical Communion basically is the document that talks about the union between the Rocor and the MP. And one of the lines it says is any acts or councils or statements, anathemas, etc., that was made before this union is no longer has no longer. Has
wait a minute. So you're saying in 2007 they signed up for ecumenism?
Yeah,
essentially.
Well, are they more properly? They signed off on being against ecumenism.
I also want to point out that
can you send me that document? Can you look that up right now, Father?
Yeah, it's very publicly available.
Jay wants to. I don't know if you wanted to say anything, or because we'll do our final rounds here. So Max, so real quick, if this document is true, then they kind of got back into the ecumenists. So then your statement about the Russian church is just not accurate, right? Would you agree,
Right.
Mac? You weren't aware.
No. People individuals can have. That's the whole point that I'm saying about the true Orthodox. They can have the opinion that ecumenism
This
is
is
wrong.
written down.
I'm so mad.
There's nothing wrong with that. They can think that, but no church has officially ruled that. That's why they're in a schism without a valid reason.
Well, let me introduce you to a fun question, Mac. Then,
yeah.
If there are true Orthodox throughout the world and they've all condemned ecumenism, from a canonical standpoint, why wouldn't that be sufficient to say that we have done that, at least for us? Because you're saying it's not valid for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not the leaders of the church. Only the leaders of the church can make these rulings.
That's
it's not
circular. Yes, it is. Because
it's literally in the canons.
If the patriarch is heretical, he's no longer a patriarch. That's what I pointed out with Canon 15. That's the history of the church. What you're doing is you're saying it needs to reference back to whether the patriarchs condemned it. And I'm saying that's not valid. Heresy is heresy regardless of who said it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of stands to reason that if that's the case, then you're making the move based on the provable sin or the
Heresy, yeah.
heresy that you're in, and it's official. I mean, it was pretty official. So just so I'm understanding, you sent the link here?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, excellent. Okay, all right. So I'll look at this. I'll do a little study on this as well. Okay, so then, Mac, real quick to wrap, and then we'll start to go to wrap. So go ahead and make your final statement here and cook these guys. Let's see what you got.
Not a problem. So I just want to say that the Roman Catholic Church is not part of the World Church Organization.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're
They're
not part of it.
observers.
Never have been, but they've always they have
They're permanent
associated-
observers. Yeah.
Yeah, they're permanent observers to the WCC.
Yeah, and so we're not part of it, and that's what I was saying. I just would just
Well,
encourage-
You're sort of part of it. You're
Well,
sort
I
of
mean,
part of it.
you're V2. I mean, come on, man. Come on.
You
All right,
have
go ahead,
permanent-
Mac.
I mean, you do host events. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
just
you're
saying.
Aren't you in the
Permanent
World Council of
observer.
Churches?
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you,
That's
CC.
what I'm shocked, Jay. I didn't know that. Officially, they're not. I didn't know
Uh,
that.
Well,
No.
but the reason why is actually because of proportionality. The Roman Catholics actually declined to join because they would be so big that they would overwhelm
Yeah, I was
everyone
gonna
else.
say they're gonna run everybody out.
That's why they are permanent observers, so they
That
can
makes-
they
that
get
makes
one
sense.
vote. Yeah.
All right, we interrupted Mac. Go ahead, Mac.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
I
go ahead, sorry.
interrupted.
Oh, it's all good. I've done it a few times myself. It happens. I would just encourage everybody to legitimately go look. The self-claim of victimhood of, oh, we're persecuted. Oh, we had extraordinary circumstances to do these things. It just doesn't hold up when you actually go and scrutinize the real history of it. When you read the historical logs of it, it doesn't hold water. And again, not
Oh
a
wow.
thing. When he was when he was trying to counter the ecumenism, those were all things that you shouldn't do. Don't pray, don't join. Yeah, don't do those things. That's not ecumenism. So they don't have the valid organizations. They don't have the valid reason for schisming. Look into it, research it, and that's where I'll leave it.
All right, brother.
I'm sure you
Appreciate
are all pleasant gentlemen to speak to.
Yeah. No, we appreciate it, Mac. Thank you for holding it
Thank
down
you
for
for
the Catholics.
defending world orthodoxy.
Yeah, but hey, we could catch you on the next one, Mac. But seriously, thanks for participating. It was definitely enlightening on my side.
Oh,
All
can
right,
I say one
appreciate
more
you,
thing?
man.
Thanks for having me up, brother. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, for sure.
Mac, one last thing.
Oh, yep.
There is one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, and it is not under the Pope.
All right,
bless.
that's a
God bless
parting
you.
shot. All right,
Go to his
all
channel
right.
next week.
All right,
Yeah,
Mac,
come
we'll
on
see you
Sunday.
later.
We welcome you to our show on Sunday.
Yeah, Mac, you'd be good. Pull up to the show on Sunday.
I apologize. On my screen, when you started speaking, it froze, so I didn't actually get to hear what you said to me.
I said, come to our show on Sunday.
Yeah,
On Sunday,
Yeah.
the channel, sir,
NFTU.
FTU.
NFTU. On Sunday, I will check it out.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thanks.
All right, real quick, Jay. See, coming from this side, I know you're in the Discord too. We've talked a little bit, so
Yes, sir.
yeah, that's good. So I appreciate your expertise here, your observance of this particular topic. Any last words you want to say to the true Orthodox?
Well, I just got to say, as far as what Mac was talking about, I thought it was interesting that he suddenly appealed to the authority of the bishops and the priests when he told me 5 minutes ago, oh, well, anybody can baptize anybody. The catechism for the Catholic Church.
Welcome to
says-
Vatican II.
Well, now hang on. The catechism for the Catholic Church says that God dispenses of his graces through the
Yeah.
person that's been
But that's
had
not
his
binding.
privilege.
The catechism is not binding.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
What?
so much for that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They
You know
appealed.
what?
They appealed.
Reader John, we're gonna have to play this Todd White thing in the background. Hold on.
It's something that God has given to all.
Oh my god! All right, we're playing.
Wait,
it. We're
whoa.
playing it.
Well,
Real
that's
quick before
cold-blooded.
you guys go, check this out. Reader John, just say something. Say something nice for the folks before we play the guy we're about to hear. This is
Christ is risen.
great. Amen. Hallelujah. Hold on a second. I'm gonna give you something. Everybody, chat. Check this out. All right. I'm gonna mute up because we got that echo thing I gotta still fix. Everybody mute and listen to Todd Heretic White. I think we found Reader Johnson is his brother or his clone. Watch this.
All of us. And if you're saved and you've given your life to Jesus, you have a purpose. And your purpose is not to sit with it. Your purpose is to go with it. And that means everywhere you go. That means Walmart. Anybody ever shop at Walmart?
Holy crap!
This is
Wow.
the same guy, bro. The same dude. Todd White in the building, chat.
If you've given your life to Jesus, you have a purpose.
At
Say Walmart. Reader John, say Walmart.
Walmart.
Go to the Walmart. Don't say that.
Walmart.
Oh my, it's the same dude, bro. This is crazy. I knew it. I heard his voice. I was like, bro, this guy's on a movie or show, something. And you
I've
said
been on
some
a-
word
I've been on a
that had me
TV show.
going nuts, bro. That's like right on it. Keep watch his stuff so you can just and then that's crazy. Okay, let me do this. Go ahead, Jay, if you want to, loving brother, say some final words and then we'll
All right,
dismiss
that's all. That was the main thing I was gonna say. The appealing to authority 5 minutes before, and then or 5 minutes after he said to me that anybody could get baptized. That's just, I don't know. That was just mind blowing.
Well, I mean, he does have a point. If there is an emergency circumstance,
Yes,
but that's a very extenuating circumstance.
as far as I know, that was very extenuating set of
Yeah.
circumstances. So,
All right.
all right, well,
Jay. I look forward to talking to you in the Discord as well, man. God bless
Will
you,
do.
brother. Thank you for coming
All
up.
right.
All right, let's say peace out to our brother Jay. Real quick, let's deal with this real quick. Catechism is not binding. This is my Catholic brother Neil. Let me see if we can get an answer to this. Reader John, real quick, because I know you mentioned it. He's asking if it's not binding. In what way do you say it's not binding, or maybe to answer that question?
Now, they've given them the imprimatur, which means they accept some of the teachings that are in there. But if you also notice, they've had multiple catechisms.
Yeah.
Like the 1983 differs from, what was that? The 2012. It was under Pope. Yeah, it was under Pope Benedict.
Basically, the
And
Roman
then the one from
Catechism,
19.
the,
go ahead.
the 1983 Roman Catechism was an attempt to make the Catechism an official document because the previous ones weren't. So, like the Trent Catechism, the Baltimore Catechism, they were locally approved, but they were not considered internationally approved. So, the 1983 Catechism was an attempt to put to make it to the level of an official document that could be translated. But since then, as Reader John notes, they've actually changed positions in the catechism and had to issue revisions
because the teaching changes.
So you're saying the revisions make it not binding, or
no, I'm saying how can it can't be
how
binding?
can it be
if
binding?
contradicts?
Yeah, and they have like this whole idea of development of doctrine. So
right.
how could it remain binding?
That would be good. Reader John, by the way, do you have Discord? Are you on Discord at all?
No, I'm allergic to it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, well,
Yeah, look at the name. It's called Discord.
Well, I mean, if you ever do, I'd love to have you on so you can have a conversation with Neil. He's a real a good brother. And that's
I'll think
so
about it.
just
I'm an
that
old man. I don't like all that social media.
yeah, I mean, you're still looking good. The preaching at your church with the loud shirt, Todd White. I couldn't believe it, man. I knew I was right on. Chat, was I right on? Did he not sound exactly?
That's
like
a little
him?
eerie. I'm not gonna lie.
It was so crazy. And then you were talking, and then right when I heard it, I was like, man, I knew it. I knew I nailed that. All right. Anyways, so let's get back to this.
Father Boniface, though. He just, I think he might have.
He kind of just dropped off. So
I think he has like technical issues. But he'll be back,
because he popped.
He's mad. He doesn't sound like Todd White.
Maybe that's it. All right. So anything else? Let me look at any final questions. Anything you see in the comments that you want to address really quick, Father Joseph, before we go? Reader John, anything? I don't know if you're looking at the screen.
I think we just addressed the catechism one. That was
I think that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I hate to break that to you.
Welcome back, Father. Is the audio working?
So, let's do this then. Reader John will give the fathers the last word. Reader John, any final words you want to say? Appreciate you joining here and giving us some of your knowledge.
Nah, I defer to the fathers.
Okay. All right. Well, God bless you, brother. I guess we'll catch you on the next one. All right. There he goes. Reader John, a.k.a. Todd White. All right. Father Bonifacio, any final words just on this whole topic? And can you specifically point out maybe something that you see course, we're all of the same opinion. It seems to be that if you're an ortho bro and have this mindset that you're anti-ecumenist, but you're still a part of the church, how do you square that? What are your thoughts on that? Just do you see it as hypocrisy then?
Well, I'll let Father Joseph carry the weight here. But one thing I wanted to say was that it's amazing that the leadership over these ortho bros have done nothing to corral them into a pastoral care corral. They're just letting them go loose and fancy free. And that's a testimony against world orthodoxy right there, that they're undisciplined, that they're not caring for their flocks properly, and that their leadership is not on target. So
yeah, that's a good point. That's actually the first clip. I don't know if you got to see it, Father Bonifacio. The first clip that we had from the other Jonathan, Father Jonathan, where he made the point is that a lot of this falls, to the. I think he's a part of what, the AOC or whatever it is.
The OCA, yeah.
OCA. I always confuse that. So the OCA, and that's the point that he's making. The point that you're making is that they're allowing, these guys are coming into the church, but they need to be corralled. That's a great point.
And I'll make another point that I put it on the sidebar there. I typed in some stuff. I had some hard time typing on my phone here. But when you leave truth, you are going into the realm of your own private judgment, your own way of doing things religiously. And so basically, that's Pharisaical. Jesus said, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, having for their doctrines the precepts of men. And so when you get priests saying, use intimidation, use violence, basically that jives with the letter kills and the spirit gives life. That their kingdom is on earth, that they're only thinking on earthly things, they're only dealing with earthly realities, that their minds are not in heaven, in the love of God and in the love of their fellow man. And so therefore they're seeking actually to kill. I've been through it. I've experienced it. And St. Augustine has a treatise, The Letter Kills, but the Spirit Gives Life. And it is a masterpiece. And I highly recommend you read it.
I haven't read that. I've read a little bit of Augustine's. What's the name of the work again?
The Letter Kills, but the Spirit Gives Life. You can PDF it. You'll get it.
Let me do that. Let me do that now. Okay. No, amazing. That sounds.
And so it would
kind of contextualizes what's going on right now, right?
Yeah. And the focus of the world and a lot of religion today is on the earth. It's not in heaven. And the Pharisees' focus was on earth and not in heaven. And so, people are looking for the kingdom of Christ in an earthly manner, even today. And so they're fighting, and so they're not listening. And I have a little thing I put on TikTok, and their ears are on the earth and they're not in heaven. And so this is where we see a lot of the ecumenist movement coalescing into, whether it be Protestant, Catholic, or Orthodox, and also the other world religions, is that they're all Pharisaical. They all got their own ways of doing things, and they're not doing it God's way, and their ears are not listening to heaven. They're listening to the earth and their own selves. So there's just some of the wrap up that I have.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and that does kind of lend to the information age, the internet age, these platforms makes it even more difficult. There's more noise than ever, and so I would agree with you that this is making it even more confusing with some of these young men who are getting pulled into this movement.
They're becoming their own popes. They're becoming their own bosses, their own leaders. Just because they got a platform with a lot of listeners, they think that they have something to say, and they have no authority. And so I've dealt with churches that have no authority. They condemned me. They quote excommunicated me. It was a joke, and because they were so corrupt, I just looked at them and laughed. And it was a tragedy. It did a lot of damage in a lot of ways. But I'm not going to get into all that. But it's like. But they have no power. They now have no authority. And so these guys, they have no power. They have no authority except consensus and their buddies that are trying to gather together and bully people.
Yeah. Yep, there it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Father Bonifacio. I guess he's on the show with you on Sundays, right, Father Joseph?
See us on Sundays.
All right. All right. Well, we'll catch you later. God bless you. Thank you for joining us.
You too.
And last word, Father Joseph, go ahead. Take us home.
All right. Well, we've spent a lot of time tonight talking about things like ecumenism and the role it plays in the official church. And I just wanted to, make a reference to Father Seraphim Rose, who was recently glorified by the Rocor under Metropolitan Agafongal, the confessing Rocor in 2024. And now the Rocor Moscow Patriarchate is talking about elevating him to sainthood. He passed on in 1982. But I highly recommend reading, especially the older editions, if you can find them, of Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future.
Okay.
The religion of the future, as it is described, is basically a one world religion where all of the religions unite together, which is kind of the end goal of the ecumenical movement. This stuff is happening now. Now, he wrote that in 1979, and he was saying that was the religion of the future. We are now in that future.
Yep.
So
Looks
no
like
matter what, we must retain our faithfulness to Christ. Obviously, I want everyone to become true Orthodox, to become Orthodox Christians. But in the end, what the most important thing to remember is that this sort of movement to bring all the religions together is of Antichrist. And that is, people sometimes say, well, does that mean the Antichrist is coming? Antichrist, whether it's coming soon or coming later, there are many Antichrists, as St. John
that's
says.
that's what St. John
So
says.
don't sit around waiting for the big one. Avoid anyone. And so that is all I have to say. Thank you so much, Mahler, for having us on.
No,
it was great. You're always welcome on Sunday. And
I would love to have contributed in any way if a topic comes up that crosses over. But you see, kind of the battle that we're in. I'm trying to show consistencies in people's claims of authority and belief. So some of these folks, they take it personal, but I don't. I know your view. So as we say, we pray that we see each other there. But until then, we're going to continue the fight. I know your fight. And you kind of see what I'm doing. So may the Lord bless you. And I appreciate you coming on.
And may God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Have a great night.
All right, you too. All right, there he is. There he goes. All right, chat. What do you say? Some people say that we're a bunch of dumb Hispanics and we don't know what we're talking about. Sounds like we were going for a little while. Maybe that's true. True for me. I don't know. But let me show you something. I'm going to share something before we close. I was going to share when the Father's here. But this is a site. If you guys are not familiar, or maybe are familiar with it. This is talking about the sin of ecumenism and some of the strong quotes over the years. And this is orthodoxwitness.org, ecumenism. And